Hello, hello. I am Dr. Brett Spradlin. We are at Divine Design, Natural Health, and this is Eugenics Agendas. Folks, are you ready to get knee-deep in the apocalypse? This is entitled Eugenics Agendas. We are going knee-deep into the apocalypse. I want to show you a couple things. Just hit the website real quick, Jonathan, and I want to show you where you can find all this stuff in the future. I want you all to know we're going to record it for posterity so everybody can see this. You just go right here to the website, which is divinedesignnaturalhealth.com. If you get lazy and you don't want to type the word natural, divinedesignhealth.com will also take you here. But go over to the patient information tab, click on videos, and right here, you will see the class we did 2 weeks ago, which was called Survivor, the FEMA Summer Camp Edition. 2 weeks before that was Children of Shotzilla. That's the children's vaccine schedule that the wonderful non-elected government officials of your country want your kids to submit to every year. Then the Doc's Gone Wild. That was a friend of mine that stopped by, a doctor from Florida that was here. You don't have a chemical imbalance. What the food, otherwise known as WTF. You're so filthy. That's the toxins and poisons stuff. The most evil substance in the world, which is what? Boom. Lies Doctors Tell Part 5. All you medical people out there, all my nurses and pharmacists and all my people who are like therapists of all the different types of therapy, you might want to check out Lies Doctors Tell because you've heard them all. You don't have allergies. Good versus fad. Hey, should I do this diet or that diet or this diet or that diet? Watch that one. The Cult of Modern Death Care. You want to know what's going on in the world right now? That'll clue you in. Along with tonight's Eugenics Agendas class. We've got your number. That's all the silly, backwards, unnecessary phone calls and questions that a place like this gets. You might want to check that out. If you are somebody who has a phone job, you might want to check that out. We heart you. Anybody you know who has heart problems or anything like that, arrhythmias, AFibs, you name it. We heart you. We'll tell you a few things that will blow your mind that you will never hear anywhere else. What's in those supplements? Most common question we get. Right up there with what do I eat? Man with a plan, that's a man's class. You're full of it, that's the water class. Hands in the air, that's the chemtrails class. 5G pentagram, that's the 5G class. You want to know what's going on about the 5G and the Wi-Fi? Boom. The cure for cancer, is there one? Yup. Medical professionals, that's a panel of 4 people who are patients here, who were all lined up right here. They're all nurses and therapists of some sort. And that's me interviewing them. Why are you a patient here? Why do you come here for your health care? Diseases that don't exist, there's a buttload of them. You'll learn a lot from that one. Shotpocalypse, want to understand vaccines? Right there. Darkness to Light, exposing the lies. That was part 10 of a 10-part series of all of the COVID's hoax crap that went on 2020 and 2021. That's part 10. You could go back and watch part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pregnancy and birthing, land of the free, home of the crazed. Stress the death cascade. Want to know every disease in 10 minutes? I'm not kidding. We list every disease in 10 minutes and we show you on a graphic how every disease is the same problem in different tissues of your body. You'll never hear this anywhere else. That's probably our most popular class. Women's health, kids, what do I eat? It goes on and on and on and on and on. So you're never going to find a doctor's office doing what we're doing here, and specifically from a biblical point of view. So let's pray. How's that sound? Lord, thank you for the opportunity to spit some fire and spit some thunder in a land and in a country of absolute and complete depravity right now. We know that this whole fiasco that's going on is not of you. There's faith and there's fear, and that's it. So Lord, speak through me as the oracles of God tonight and give people eyes to see and ears to hear. Help them to understand what we're trying to say to people. Help them not to get offended. Help them to take this information, go to their families and their friends and their coworkers, and to wake people up. And sometimes to wake them up, you got to shake them. So Lord, I thank you for the opportunity. Give people eyes to see, ears to hear. Help them to wake up and help them to understand everything we're saying from a spirit of love, not a spirit of fear. In Jesus' name. Let's get started. So the eugenics agendas, what's that all about? We'll define eugenics, but first a few points that we have to get through. This will disturb you, as it should. I couldn't find a few of the videos that I needed to show you tonight, and you should thank me for that, but we'll tell you how to get to them and how to find them. It should disturb you because there's a lot of disturbing stuff out there. Be forewarned, it may make you squirm and it may not be suitable for some. I warned you ahead of time. We tell you this stuff. We try to help people. You know what? Some people want help, some people don't. So the moral of the story, what I came up with here is some will hear it, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. We are not going to waste time on people who are trying to pull us down or trying to argue with us or trying to point fingers or trying to do ad hominem attacks or, oh, you're not a real doctor or any of this stuff. Brother, I'll tell you how I'm a doctor. Well, actually, I'm not a doctor. I'm a healer. Doctor is Go to this class and watch what the word doctor means, okay? So I say this, some will, some won't. So what? Move on. Someone's waiting. The only way they will take your power is if you give it to them willingly. If you roll up your sleeve, if you open your nostril, if you give them your vein, fill your prescriptions, orally poisoning yourself. No one's holding a gun to your head. Well, yet, but that may soon change. That may soon change. And if you read the book, you know how it ends up. Next, they write books about their plans. So none of this is conjecture. None of this is like my opinion, my thoughts, my ideas. They censor people who are warning others. Does all of you know that there's widespread censorship going on literally everywhere? I talk to people about this whole reason we're doing this class. I talk to people about this stuff. Some people have absolutely no idea what's going on. They're still watching football and thinking the Queen died a few days ago. I should have gotten a laugh out of that. Okay. Maybe she did die a few days ago. But it's a distraction. Let's just say that. It's a distraction. And besides, who cares if the Queen died? Didn't we get away from monarchy a long time ago? But you see all these influencers on social media just going, oh my gosh, I can't believe the Queen's dead. I don't get it. I really don't get it. They censor people. Oh, go back. So they sell you products of fear on your television, and you pay for your own mind control programming, and then you pay for your own euthanasia. And people will argue all day long, well, I got both knees replaced. Well, yeah, how'd you pay for that? Well, I didn't pay for it. Insurance paid for it. Well, who paid for your insurance premiums? And then they just stop because they realize they paid for it. So they pay $100,000 of medical expenses, and then they think they get a deal when they have a $4 prescription copay at Walgreens. You know? It's the biggest trick ever. And so many people don't get it. You can listen to the painful truth, or I can tell you comforting lies. Which one would you rather prefer? Truth. There you go. Just like bankruptcy, all this stuff I'm talking about, it's going to happen really, really, really slowly. But then it's going to happen really, really, really quickly, and you're not going to know. Here goes. Then you're believing an industry that kills. By this industry, I mean the medical industry. You are believing, people are believing, still believing after the last 2.5 years, this is almost 3 years we've been through this, a medical industry that kills more humans through medicine, mainly abortion, than all of the people in the world who die of old age. So the people will come at me and say, well, you're a quack, you're not a real doctor. Well, guess what? I don't want to be one of your real doctors because I know what they do. We're going to list 7 points tonight later on about all of the agendas of eugenics and which types of doctors are doing these things. And just spoiler alert, none of them are chiropractors, homeopaths, naturopaths, or holistic doctors. None of them. If they kill me, I win. If they don't kill me, I win. You should have that motto too. And plan like Jesus is returning in 100 years, but live like he's returning today. Amen? Why do we do this? Right here. DDNH, catalyzing statement. Mission statement, vision, purpose. Why do you exist? This is it. It's a sacred service of saving lives ahead of time. We're fearlessly freeing billions of beings through all natural biblical healthcare. That word right there, that's not a typo. That's biblical healthcare. We don't use anything here that was not created by God. Nothing here can hurt you. Nothing here can harm you unless I jump up and down on your chest. Right, Rick? Nice. Next. So the greatest source of wealth and profit in history is just helping other people. When you help people the way that God created things, the rewards are built into the work. Godly work is goodly rewarded, right? So that's what we do here. We help people. We cancel. People ask me all the time, can you get me off my drugs? No, you can get you off your drugs. By license and by law, I'm not supposed to. However, no one's holding a gun to your head. You're a sovereign individual. You can take this or not take this. Nobody's making you poison yourself, people. Well, it's a life-saving medication. Prove it. You're not in an emergency room. Prove it. Prove it. You've been told that. I get it. They lied to you. I get it. But you'll see all the other lies that they've told you. I get it. It's not saving your life. That insulin is not saving your life. Sorry. Prove it. However, let's move on. Leon Kass, a former chairman of the President's Council on Bioethics. This was October 25th. This is where this whole thing is going right now. I'll read it to you. Human nature itself lies on the operating table ready for alteration. This is your government. This is people in your government 20 years ago. For eugenic and psychic enhancement, for wholesale redesign, human nature lies on the operating table. In leading laboratories, academic and industrial, new creators are confidently amassing their powers and quietly honing their skills, while on the street, their evangelists, transhumanists, the term you'll learn more about tonight, are zealously prophesying a post-human future. Right? For anyone who cares about preserving our humanity, the time has come for paying attention. I've used this quote in another couple of classes, but Leon Cass, this is a dude in your government, for God's sake, 20 years ago. And he's telling you the transhumanists are coming to change human DNA and to change human performance and psychic enhancement, right? And by the way, this dude is not elaborating at all on any type of spiritual warfare, Christians. He's talking about changing the structure and the humanity of humans in a post-human world, right? So, next. Who all is behind this? I shared this with you last time, and we'll talk more about this throughout the course of the night. But the World Economic Forum, how many of you in this room have not heard of them? Right. 2 years ago, you had no idea who they were. Led by Klaus Schwab, Yuval Noah Harari, that's the gay atheist Jew who wants to reprogram every human in the world. And multiple world governments are openly publicizing their plans. They don't even hide the word satanic anymore, New World Order, where you will eat bugs, own nothing, and be happy. They openly admit their plans to distract people from this current agenda. They openly admit their plans to distract people from this current agenda through the use of, what's that first word? Drugs. We're talking street drugs? You're talking legal drugs. He's talking legal drugs. I wish you were on street drugs. They want you on legal drugs. Video games. How many of your kids play video games? All of them. Tons of them. And social media. How many people are addicted to social media? And how many people don't know that social media isn't necessarily real either, as Twitter just found out, right? So that right there is more than most people understand, because I talk to people all the time. I say, yeah, it's like Klaus Schwab. They go, who? It's like, this is the Hitler this is the Mussolini, Hitler, Antichrist dude of our generation, all rolled up in one, who's been leading the charge for 70-something years. And you don't know who this is. Why don't they know? Well, there's good reasons. We'll get into that. So the goals, and these people here, you know what? I'm not even I would show you their faces, and I would play you videos of them saying, yeah, we're coming for this, we're coming for that, we're coming for this. And people, crowds cheering for them. I'd show you videos, but I'm not giving them screen time in my event. I'm not doing it. So the goals of the ruling elite, here's what their goals are, okay? To amass wealth. You see that happening at all? To control people. Do you see that happening at all? And number 3 is what tonight is all about. So the goal of this is the third goal of them is worldwide depopulation. So depopulation, let's just be clear, depopulation is another word for what? Absolutely. It's just murder, redefined. So the question is, well, who are they? Who are you talking about? Who are these people? Are they just those 3 people you mentioned? Oh, no. And we'll talk about that. So let's just kick right into the Georgia Guidestones here. Who are they? Well, it's not like, well, there it is right there. It's not like stick here for a minute. They want to maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. These are some stone tablets that are a couple hours away. Actually, let's go back to the next. It's not like the plans of our human farmers are written in stone, people say. It's like, who are these people? They don't write this stuff down. Yeah, they do. It's written in stone. It's actually just a couple hours away from here. Actually, they are written in stone. And up until they got blown up a little while ago, we had a field trip planned. Didn't happen. It didn't happen, did it? I was excited, Jonathan. I was excited. Jonathan was going to take the camera out there. We were going to go commando. It was fabulous. So what are the Georgia Guidestones? Well, everybody, certainly in Cleveland, Tennessee, needs to know this. Next. Georgia Guidestones. Elbert County, Georgia. It's 3.5 hours away, 250 miles from right here, okay? Suggest a human depopulation. I just showed you the picture, to 500 million. That thing was written in 9 different languages. It's out in the middle of a cornfield. It's all in videotape. They don't know who destroyed it, whatever. But June 1979, Robert C. Christian, it's a pseudonym, that's a fake name. He went to the city council and said, hey, I'm not going to tell you who I'm with, but I can't tell you, and it's all got to be sealed up, and nobody's going to know who this is, but we got to finance this thing, and it's a lot of granite, and we're going to get it all hauled here. Can we put it right here? And the dude's like, well, and then he shoves him a big wad of cash. Can we put it right here? Okay. Commissioned the monument in 79, June. The monument was unveiled in 1980. Population of 8 billion should be reduced to 500 million. Currently, that's 7.5 billion dead humans, if you do your math. Did I do the math right on that? That's a lot of dead humans. And then opponents have labeled them as the 10 commandments of the Antichrist. You can easily look this stuff up online. A little while ago, they got destroyed. It was July 6th. Somebody blew them up. They say it was, good guys that blew them up, but it could have just as easily been the bad guys. You don't know what's going on in the world anymore. Everybody, the news is owned. We'll talk more about it. But how would this ever actually occur? You get this question all the time. How would they ever do this? Well, people are indoctrinated, fluoridated, medicated, vaccinated, glyphosated, cosmeticated, food sedated, and irradiated. Y'all who've been here for a few classes, this is kind of like my little mantra when somebody comes and goes, how is this happening? Or what are they thinking? I go, well, people are vaccinated, fluoridated, medicated, cosmeticated, irradiated. It's right here. People are controlled, and they don't even know they're being controlled. Why? Well, they're indoctrinated with the media and the fake news and the social media and the censorship and fraudulent science. How many times did they move the goalposts in 2020? They never stopped. They're still moving them. Number two, they're fluoridated, so they're drinking water, and they're using, mouthwash and toothpaste and stuff for strong teeth. Man, that was 50 years ago. People figured that out. That was a bad idea. Plastics and stuff like that. But why is that such a big deal, where 80% of your body is water? Why do you think we did the class on You're Full of It, the water class? That was all about water. We teach a whole entire class to people on water. What kind of water should you drink? What kind of water should you stay away from? Where did it all go wrong? Number three, people are medicated. Prescription and over-the-counter drugs from birth to the nursing home. How many of you know that's true, right? So I found this little thing the other day. It was in some notes I was digging through, and I found all this research on just Benadryl and Claritin. It's just, everybody has, probably 90% of the population has this crap in their medicine cabinet. Which if you want to learn how to reduce and get rid of your medicine cabinet and replace it with stuff that won't kill you, watch the Survivor class we did 2 weeks ago. But Benadryl and Claritin are anticholinergic drugs, and they block acetylcholine. Is anybody in here medical? Anybody? So they block acetylcholine. That's a big deal, right? So if you're blocking acetylcholine, these common over-the-counter drugs that people use to treat colds and flus and fevers and hay fevers and allergies and heartburn, all this crap, the research, they're linked to cognitive impairment and dementia. Is there a problem with dementia and cognitive impairment? So if you can prove that the allergy drugs and the anticholinergic drugs are actually causing dementia and cognitive impairment, you can answer this question right here already. How would this ever occur? People who take this crap are not thinking. They're not humans anymore. They're not using their brain. Their brain is being cognitively impaired. Just by that. Then you mix in this and this, and you're screwed. But then 2020 happens, and you fall for this little psyop. From vitamin K to flu shots, people are vaccinated. You get 82 doses by age 18. Why did we do the class 4 weeks ago called Children of Shotzilla? The children's vaccine schedule, of which they're adding the COVID stuff too for your kids. Why did we do that class? To talk about this. COVIDs is added to the schedule, and by COVIDs, I mean the COVID-19 word that I will not utter or let anyone utter in this office. I will not give place to that demon in this office. So that right there, you add that into their bloodstream, guess what? Oh, by the way, they overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony, right? So if we pollute your blood with drugs and vaccines, guess what happens? Guess what happens? Glyphosated, all the wheat and flour products, it's a desiccant. That means it dries stuff out. So not only do they spray it on the plants when they're growing all the stuff, but they also spray it after they're gathered to dry it all out, because it goes by, you got to have a certain amount of moisture when you deliver the grains or the corns to the elevator to get it sold to Kellogg's. You have to have a certain amount of moisture, so you dry it out with your glyphosate. You know what's funny? Has similar symptoms. Glyphosate poison to what? COVIDs. COVID-19, right? It's crazy. Next, they're cosmeticated, so they're smothering themselves on the sensitive mucous membranes with known poisons. Guess what? Who makes all those cosmetics? Pharmaceutical subsidiaries. You think you're buying it from Mom and Pop Natural. They're owned by pharmaceutical companies. Number 7, food sedated. People are just like, well, I don't know if I want to give up my Diet Coke and my Krispy Kreme. The preservatives, the colors, the fast food, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your great-great-great-great-grandparents would not recognize your food. It's crazy. You try to talk to people about living right and eating healthy, and they spit in your face, because that's their religion, some people. Number 8, They're irradiated gases for fruits, microwaves. People don't even think. They're radiating their food. They're nuclear radiating their food with a microwave, and it's not a good idea. And then they're eating it, and they're wondering why they're getting sick. Haven't used one in years. Some countries outlawed them. You still have one in your kitchen. Cell phones, 5G. We did the 5G class, the 5G pentagram class. If you want to understand what's going on with them putting up all the stuff around the highways that you've never seen before, you might want to watch that class. The X-rays, the airport backscatter radiation machines that you should never go through, and there's always a way out of those, by the way, we can talk about when the camera shuts off. But it's very likely that your coworkers, your family members have differing views, at least in part, due to the list above. How do I know? Because I get 50, 60, 80 people coming in here every day saying, well, my in-laws aren't talking to me anymore because I won't get the kids shot up. Well, the guys at work think I'm crazy because I'm not going to bow down and get the shot and roll up my sleeve. I hear it every day, and I've heard it every day for 2.5 years. It's unbelievable people are still going for this. Effects of the above will lead to misdiagnosis and inevitable drugging for life. So if they don't know any of these last 8 points, they're going to get misdiagnosed with a drug from somebody in a white coat. So you guys have to get out there and talk. Families and workplaces are in conflict over misunderstood science, physiology, and fraudulent science. So here's one little quote. I'll let you take a picture of this. I'm not going to read through it all. But lies, destruction, disease, disorder, blah, blah, blah. Truth produce creativity, health, order, unity. Look at our current society. Tell me if we've been told truths or lies by morally corrupt and mentally depraved criminals, psychopathic criminals. It's horrible. So then what is eugenics? And why are we talking about the eugenics agendas? Here's a definition. What is that? Nope. Where's the Wikipedia page? Go back. We'll get to that in a minute. While he's finding that, I'll just tell you. So eugenics basically came from Nazi Germany. There were some people involved. You might have heard of them. Francis Galton, who was a friend of, guess who? Charles Darwin, right? Or I believe he was the cousin or the nephew of Charles Darwin or something. I forget the connection. But Francis Galton said humans should take evolution in their hands and control it. And then they used genetics to control population and politics. Some other names that you might have heard of, the eugenics movement in Germany, Ernst Rudin, R-U-D-I-N, Madison Grant of America actually inspired Hitler, who hailed eugenics as the science that would rebuild civilization. Are you seeing some of the stuff that we're talking about happening in the world right now as being a Nazi takeover? And they're telling everybody that doesn't support it, they're calling you Nazi if you don't support it. Interesting, isn't it? The Nazi program could fund the eugenic movement, and they justified each other. 40% of German psychiatrists, so German medical doctors, joined the SS in 1933. It was 100 years ago, less than 100 years ago. We're going through it again. Rudin helped inspire the movement from sterilization to murder. They focused on Jehovah's Witnesses, Jews, gypsies, homosexuals, cripples, and the mentally ill. The new eugenics movement started after World War II. After slavery had been abolished, Samuel Cartwright and Benjamin Rush, some of those names may sound familiar to some of you, continued to justify segregation as a medical necessity. Harry Laughlin was another name that some of you might know, was the Carnegie Institute Director of Eugenics. Carnegie Institute. Now you know it as Carnegie Mellon University. In South Africa, apartheid was started by the prime minister, he has a big long name, who studied eugenics in Leipzig in the 1920s. So across the world, whether it was United States, Germany, South Africa, the whole apartheid thing, that was eugenics. So here's what is eugenics? Let's just read the first paragraph. This is a stupid first paragraph off Wikipedia. People know I don't ever recommend Wikipedia. But if you just Google this and try to look it up and see what it says, this is what you'll find. Eugenics, I'll read it. You can't see it in the back. In the nosebleed seats, I'll read it for you guys back there. It means good genes, or basically good growing, is basically what the word means. Is a set of beliefs and practices that aim to improve the genetic quality of a human population. Historically, eugenicists have attempted to alter human gene pools. There you go. Alter human gene pools by excluding people and groups judged to be inferior or promoting those judged to be superior. In recent years, the term has seen a revival in bioethical discussions on the usage of new technologies such as CRISPR gene editing, we'll talk about that briefly, I don't want to go into it, genetic screening, and with a heated debate on whether these technologies should be called eugenics or not. Then the only other thing I want to show you here, Yes. A criticism of eugenics policies is that regardless of whether negative or positive policies are used, they're susceptible to abuse because the genetic selection criteria are determined by whichever group has political power at the time. Right? Sounds okay. What could possibly go wrong? So eugenics is just control of genetics, the control of the human population. So when you're talking about eugenics agendas, they're going to decide who lives and dies based upon 7 things that we will lay out tonight. Now, why is this all important? Well, a while back, I had somebody who had was actually coming to help us out here, and I said I was going to have him record some stuff, record one of the classes actually, and I said, you know what? Before we agree to anything, you do one class. We'll see how you do. We'll see if we like what you do, how you do the sound, how you do the audio, how you do the video, all the stuff. And you'll, at the same time, be able to understand what we do and how we preach and what we teach and the vibe with which we resonate and the people we pull in and the people we repel. And that way we'll both be able to make a decision. Do we want to work together or not? So just do the first class. I'll pay you for it. Do your best, and we'll see what we can do, you know. We did that class, and it was something along it was right at the beginning, middle, it was probably like March, April, May, right in the middle of the COVID's thing. And so he came in and did one class, and he delivered the stuff about 4 or 5 days later, and he comes in and he says, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I said, okay, great. Well, good to know. I'm glad we figured it out ahead of time. Tell me why. Any idea why? He's like, well, I don't believe what you believe. I said, well, that's fine. Anything in particular? Well, yeah, I don't believe that there are bad people trying to take over the world. I just said, are you a Christian? He says, yeah. I said, do you read the Bible? And he said, yeah. And I said, you and I are not on the same team. I want to help you, man. I'd love to, but you've already shown me that we're just not on the same team. So thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you. We'll find somebody. Thanks. You did good work, by the way. But I was just blown away at the time that that was not even something that occurred to him. And it wasn't something that he wanted to even focus on or think about. That being said, I mean, I know this is kind of small, but it's widely known now that there are many leaders, a lot of businesses, celebrities, there's sports figures who are openly into the occult. They're openly promoting all this stuff. I know you can't see this from the back, but there's Walt Disney's logo. There's Coca-Cola's logo, Coca-Cola Zero, there's there's Volkswagen, there's SanDisk, there's Procter & Gamble, there's Kool-Aid. These are all logos. The CERN logo, which we'll talk about later on, the recycling logo we'll talk about later on. These are all logos that contain 666s in them. Some of them very overt, and some of them right in your face. Heineken, PNC Bank, Taco Bell, AIG, Adobe Photoshop, Wendy's, Olive Garden. I mean, it just goes on and on. Planned Parenthood, everybody knows that one, right? So some of these are right in your face. Google, Google Chrome, National Institutes of Health. First time I saw that one, I thought, my God, how many times have I looked at this? The National Institutes of Health, it's a 666 in the logo. It's unreal. Google, Chrome, 666 in the logo. The one that we'll get to here in a little while is the CERN logo, which we'll get to. How many of you know about that? Yes. CERN? So thankfully, I'm speaking to a group of people who, I'm preaching to the choir, but you would not believe how many people, it actually blows my mind that they're Christians, they don't believe any of this stuff's going on, and they're clueless to it, which explains why we see so many people out there who got the shot. I was talking to somebody, and this was a perfect example. I was talking to somebody, she was a patient here 7 or 8 years ago. And she moved away. She and her family moved away to Nashville. They ended up coming back. She drives from Nashville to here every week because she couldn't find anybody doing what we're doing in the metropolis of Nashville, which was a wonderful compliment to us. But she saw the value in what we're doing, and so she's like many people driving from hours away. A few weeks ago, I had her do the beta test of the Divine Design Natural Health University online module curriculum that we're doing. And she said, I had to fact check you on some of the stuff. And I said, well, what in particular? And she said, all the pharmakia stuff in the book of Revelation. She said, I grew up and we never read that book. She said, I grew up a certain denomination. I won't say the denomination. But she said, I grew up a certain denomination. I went to, in a house that was a certain denomination. I went to that denomination, middle school, high school, 2 different denominational colleges that were based on that Christian denomination. And she said, we never opened up the book of Revelation. I thought, is that a denominational wide thing, or is that just your church and your, and she said, no, it's a denominational. Like, we don't open that book. And I've probably talked to a few of you about it. I said, have you heard this? Have you heard this? Saw her today, and she said, no, it's a denominational thing. Like, they don't open that book. And so no wonder when you talk to people about the Antichrist and the mark of the beast and the stuff that's happening in the world, no wonder they don't get it. So they don't see what's happening. There's whole denominations out there that don't read that book. Well, but there's whole denominations out there that don't read Acts. There's whole denominations out there that don't read certain other books of the Bible, or certain denominations that won't even crack an Old Testament, right? So it's not a surprise. But when you look at this right here, you realize the top of the pyramid, there are a certain number of people, estimated about 3,000, some certain 300 families at the top of the pyramid. And most people don't even recognize it or don't even know that it's happening. So how do we know? 2 Thessalonians 2, chapter 1, 1 through 12, chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. Concerning the coming of, and I'm just putting this out there, I know many of you, this is preaching to the choir, but we have to build a case because a lot of people in the future are going to see this thing, and we have to spell it out in the scriptures. Let's do it. Concerning the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and our being gathered to him, we ask you, brothers and sisters, not to become easily unsettled or alarmed by the teaching allegedly from us, whether by a prophecy or by word of mouth or by letter, asserting that the day of the Lord has already come. Don't let anyone deceive you in any way, for that day will not come until the rebellion occurs and the man of lawlessness is revealed. The man doomed to destruction. The man, not the supernatural beast, the man. He will oppose and will exalt himself over everything that is called God or is worshipped, so that he sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. Well, how could this possibly happen? Let's keep going. Don't you remember? When I was with you, I used to tell you these things. Now you know what's holding him back, so that he may be revealed at the proper time. For the secret power of lawlessness is already at work. There's clue number one. The secret power of lawlessness is at work. When was this book written? A couple thousand years ago. Jesus quoted and said, the power that's already at work, the spirit that's already at work within the world. He said, get behind me, Satan, to Peter. He said, even Peter, Paul, James, John, they all were saying this power that is already at work in the world. So when my friend said, I don't believe what you believe, I don't believe they're bad people, you don't read the Bible, brother. We're not on the same team, not anymore. So for the secret power of lawlessness is already at work, but the one who now holds it back will continue to do so till he's taken out of the way, Holy Spirit. And then the lawless one will be revealed, whom the Lord Jesus will overthrow at the breath of his mouth and destroy by the splendor of his coming. Hallelujah. Can I get an amen right there? The coming of the lawless one will be in accordance with how Satan works. How does Satan work? We'll get there. He will use all sorts of displays of power through signs and wonders that serve the lie and all the ways that wickedness deceives those who are perishing. They perish because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. For this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion, so that they'll believe the lie, and so that all will be condemned who have not believed the truth, but have delighted in wickedness. I don't know another scripture in the Bible that states it so plainly. So the secret power of lawlessness, the behind-the-scenes activity of evil powers evident throughout the world, will increase until it reaches its climax in the complete ridicule of and disregard for any standards and commands held sacred in the Bible, to me and to you. It's a biblical place. It doesn't have my name on the door. So we're standing by it. Come hell or high water, we're standing by it. It was at work 2,000 years ago when Paul wrote Thessalonians. So how do you think it's going now? Is it getting worse or getting better? Watch some music videos, commercials, Super Bowl halftime show, ample evidence. It's often hidden in plain sight. You'll see it all over the place. People are literally asleep from all the stuff we talked about earlier. Some will simply not wake up ever. So move on, right? Here's some other scriptures. Jesus, full of the Holy Spirit, left the Jordan and was led by the Spirit into the wilderness, where for 40 days he was tempted by the devil. He ate nothing during those days, and at the end of them he was hungry. The devil said to him, if you're the Son of God, tell the stone to become bread. I mean, this is such a moment. You've got Jesus talking to a created being. This is such a moment in the Bible. Like, such a moment. So there's three things the devil says. We're just going to go through the first two. There's three things because we don't have, I could expound on this all night long. But Jesus answered, the devil said to him, if you're the Son of God, turn the stone to bread. So he appealed to his divinity, you know. He's saying, you're hungry. I know you're hungry. You can make this bread. Go ahead and do it. Nope. It's written. Man shall not live on bread alone. So the devil led him up to a high place and showed him in an instant all the kingdoms of the world. And he said to him, I'll give you all their authority and splendor. It has been given to me, and I can give it to anyone I want to. If you worship me, it will all be yours. Jesus answered, it's written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. I guess we are going through all three. The devil led him to Jerusalem, had him stand on the highest point of the temple. If you're the Son of God, throw yourself down from here, for it's written. And he changes the Psalms, of course. He leaves a part out at the very end. He will command your angels concerning you to guard you carefully. Can the devil quote scripture? Sure. Yeah, he'll quote some scripture and he'll twist something and he'll leave the last part out. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. Jesus answered, it is said, do not put the Lord your God to the test. So the question here to ask is, if the devil has the kingdoms of the world, go back to the last slide there, Jonathan, real quick. If the devil has all the kingdoms of the world, he said to him, I'll give you all this stuff, authority and splendor. How'd the devil get a hold of it? Adam, which is the next scripture. Check this out. So Adam sinned, Adam screwed up. Therefore, since through God's mercy we have this ministry, we do not lose heart. Whether we've renounced secret and shameful ways, we do not use deception. Nor do we distort the word of God. On the contrary, by setting forth the truth plainly, we commend ourselves to everyone's conscience in the sight of God. And even if our gospel is veiled, it's veiled to those who are perishing. The God of this age, see, so here it is again, the Bible itself, written and inspired by the Holy Spirit through the writings of Paul, in this case, multiple times it shows that God is not the God of this world, that the devil is the God of this world. So when bad things happen, it ain't God doing it, right? The God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers so that are we still in the same age as Paul 2,000 years ago? So that they cannot see the light of the gospel that displays the glory of Christ, who's the image of God. So we see he's the God of this world, and you'll see it in many other places. I'm just building the case. Next. So here's the serpent, more crafty than all the wild animals the Lord God has made. Said to the woman, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? That's the same lie always. Did God really say don't do this or don't do that? That's all. The woman said to the serpent, we may eat from the trees in the garden, but God did say you must not eat fruit from the tree that's in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it or you will die. That's not what God said. She changed it. She messed it up. So this is screwed up right here. So we lost it right here. You will not certainly die, the serpent said to the woman, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be open and you'll be like God, knowing good and evil. New Age religion. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye and also desirable for gaining wisdom, you see those points, fruit of the tree, good for food, pleasing to the eye, desirable for gaining wisdom. Paul mentions those later. We're not going to cover it, but those are the things to look for always in lies. She took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was where? With her. And he did what? He ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together, made coverings for themselves. So right there, we gave the ownership, the lease, so to speak, of the world over to the God of this world. Next. I'm just building the case. Romans 1:25, we've covered this before in other classes. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie, worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Is that happening today? So because of this, God gave them over to shameful lust. Even their women exchanged natural sexual relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed shameful acts with other men and received it in themselves, the due penalty for their error. Furthermore, just as they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, so God gave them over to a depraved mind so that they do what ought not to be done. I know, yes, this makes you squirm a little bit. Most churches don't teach this, as we just talked about, right? Because they're afraid of pissing people off. But here, guess what? I don't care, because people have to know this. So when we get to the transgender section of the the eugenics agendas, you understand why. But mark this. This is 2 Timothy. There will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves. Yes or no today? Yes. Lovers of money? Yes or no? Yes. Boastful at all? Proud and abusive? Disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Yeah, I can't think of, this is like reading a newspaper today, right? Having a form of godliness but denying its power. Religion, denying its power. religion. Have nothing to do with such people. They are the kind who worm their way into homes, gain control over gullible women who are loaded down with sins and are swayed by all kinds of evil desires, always learning, but never able to come to a knowledge of the truth. Is that today or not? Hello. And then, last but not least, 1 Timothy. The Spirit clearly says that in later times, some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons, doctrines of demons. So what you're seeing now today is actually doctrines that are taught in schools and high schools and colleges, doctrines of demons. Some of the New Age, well, all of them. There's not another religion out there that's not taught by demons. Demons teach religion. Did you know that? So that's a little case that we're building. Revelation 9, key to the bottomless pit. We'll talk about this later. They had as king over them the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek is Apollyon. That means destroyer. We'll talk about that later. I just wanted to kind of put all the scriptures in one spot. And then Revelation 12. Oh, did we not have Revelation 12 there? Oh, okay. Well, here, I'll just read it to you. Revelation 12, you know, the book that some people don't talk about, is the Antichrist kingdom. It talks about, I won't read the whole quote, but it's the kingdom beast will culminate. It's all going to be in a worldwide, brutally enforced, diabolically demanded worship of a man. Satan's man, quote unquote. The church has been, basically what we did through walking through all of this and walking through all of the why are people medicated, vaccinated, why do people not get it? The church has been anesthetized, drugged, seduced, and infiltrated, yet most don't even see it. So just FYI, before we do a little commercial break here, Ange, you ready? We're the first generation in human history to see the worldwide scourge, and it's all being paraded in front of us. So what do? Do we fear or do we have faith? Faith. And that's why we're talking about all this tonight, to give you enough information to get out there and talk to people and tell them what's going on. So this is going to be, it's squirmy, it's squirmish. What do they say? It's cringeworthy. It's cringeworthy, but you're going to learn some stuff tonight. And we'll be out of here by 10 o'clock, I promise. Okay, 10:30.
This patient said, I never slept through the night. I would wake up around 3 a.m. and be up for hours. After adding whole food supplements, I now sleep through the night and wake up feeling refreshed and ready for the day.
Yay. That was easy. Okay, let's say what we mean and mean what we say. God and nature versus man and science. Who's your God? Think about it. I mean, I hear it all the time. Certificate of Achievement awarded to the unvaccinated for surviving the greatest psychological fear campaign in human history. Stay right there for a minute, Jonathan. Don't go to the next one. Yeah, how about that? You all give yourselves a round of applause. I hear people all the time say, well, yeah, my parents went and got the shot because they wanted to travel, or, you know, my kids went and got the shot because they were on college campus and they didn't want to have to wear a mask all the time. I hear it all the time. You gave up your DNA and your blood for convenience. And that right there, the one before that, is an exact representation of what's happening. Next. Go away. I'm fully vaccinated. Ironically, that's why I'm here. Oh. Next. When I ask how monkeypox is spread, I never get a straight answer. Straight? I had to explain it. Wow, nobody got that one. Jonathan, did you get that one? You didn't get that one? That's funny. That's funny, but I had to explain it. They ran out of baby formula, but they stocked up on vaccines. Yeah, if you believe that we were out of baby formula, you're out of your mind. That's stupid, isn't it? If you homeschool your kids, if you homeschool, your kids won't fit in with society. Correct. That's the whole point. Pick your health leader. These are the actual ministers of hell, or ministers of health for America. This is that's a dude. I mean, it's a clown show. You can't make this crap up. That's the Belgium one. Krispy Kreme. Miss Canada. Miss Canada looks like, I mean, she's a cadaver on legs. And then right here, Miss Britain.
Well, Miss Britain ate all the tainted his food.
Yep. That's crazy. Those are your health leaders. Why are we doing all this? Because warriors confront the evil that most people refuse to acknowledge. That's why we do this. Next. Okay, so the WHO, 2019. Back in 2019, the WHO did Top 10 threats to health. If you want to see the discussion of this, it's fascinating because this was right at the end of 2019, I believe right at the beginning of 2020. We kind of predicted what was going to happen. Oh yeah, you were here. Yeah, we kind of predicted what was going to happen with all this stuff. How'd we know? Well, it's easy when out of the top 10 things, 9 of them, I believe, yeah, 8 out of the 10 were going to be solved by vaccines or drugs, like the health threats, like dengue fever or like vaccine hesitancy. How do you fix vaccine hesitancy? That's one of the top 10 health threats, by the way. How do you fix vaccine hesitancy? More vaccines. It's the only way, right? But out of the number 1 was climate change, which is a hoax. And out of the remaining 9, 8 were solved by vaccines. Dengue fever, what do? Vaccines. That's it. What didn't make the list? Well, it's interesting that they didn't talk about abortion. They didn't mention opioids, the opioid epidemic, ravaging your county, as a matter of fact. They didn't talk about the legal drugs killing anybody. They didn't talk about cancer at all. They didn't talk about diabetes, heart disease, stroke. They didn't talk about any of that. It's interesting. They didn't talk about vaccine injury, and they certainly did not talk about childhood sickness and obesity. Why didn't they do that? Well, if you've never seen this before, roll it, Jonathan. Come on. Oh no. So this is Bill Gates talking at a TED Talk to thousands of people.
This equation has 4 factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to 0. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to 0. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to 0. That's back from high school algebra. But let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. But there we see an increase of about 1.3.
So now hold on, because at the beginning it said CO2. That's a lie. Yeah. CO2 is good for you. CO2, you breathe it out, and plants breathe it in. You get rid of CO2, you get rid of CO2, and the world dies. Yeah. CO2 is not the problem. I taught a whole class on the whole climate change hoax. I don't know whatever class that was. It was probably the climate. It was probably the 5G pentagram, or it might have been the hands in the air, the chemtrail class. So what he was talking about there is getting rid of the people, getting rid of the services, getting rid of the energy, and getting rid of the carbon. That's what he's talking about. So now people say, well, that's not really what he was saying. Well, the only problem with that, he's referring to the population. That is the quote right there. We can get that down 10 or maybe 15%. So this is the dude that openly says, we'll get rid of you, right? Eugenics. So make sure you know this, because people will argue this with you. Bill Gates of hell, that was a TED Talk. But he also says, people say, well, that's not really meant. Okay, look up the interview with him and Anderson Cooper. Well, that's okay, fine. Look up the interview with him and Sanjay Gupta. Well, okay, fine. Read his books. So the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation used to be called the Bill and Melinda Gates Center for Population Control. How many of you knew that? They changed the name. You can find this stuff on the internet, but it's getting harder and harder to do so because they control the digital world, right? His father ran Planned Parenthood. He comes from a long line of baby killers. It is ironic that the eugenicist bloodlines are descended from the marriage of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene, right? Some of the Illuminati, Freemasons, the people who are running all of this nonsense, believe that they're actually descended from Jesus, who faked his death and then married Mary Magdalene, and that's where the monarchs came from. So you want to know why I'm not into the Queen? You want to know why you shouldn't be into the kings and the queens? Because they're all inbreds. They're keeping it in the family because they think they're God and you're not. Right? You got to get that through your head. You got to understand who these people think they are. Therefore, they have the power to exercise over killing you and your grandkids, okay? So the man saying the world is overpopulated wants to repeatedly vaccinate you and your children. Read that again. Let's all read that together. Ready? The man saying the world is overpopulated wants to repeatedly vaccinate you and your children. I was waiting to see who would do it. So the Psycho 7 depopulation agendas, here goes. And I'm going to speed through this stuff. The vaccines. It was a ritual. We discussed it at Darkness to Light, Exposing the Lies, Part 4, and that is DDNH 107, and that is DDNH 109. If you want to know how this whole thing, this whole COVID's 2020, 21 thing was a ritual, we did 2 classes on it, DDNH 107 and DDNH 109. The ritual masks. Nope, go back. The ritual masks, hand washing, social distancing, isolation, those 4 things. Masks, hand washing, social distancing, and isolation. I'll just summarize that class right there. Here's the small summary of the ritual part of it. I showed how this is all, I'm a theater guy, so we did masks, we did ceremonial hand washing and makeup, we did choreography, and we did isolation from other people called rehearsals. It's theater. I was it's a satanic ritual, and we were people who bowed down to it were all involved in it. The world is undergoing a 4-part occult ritual: initiation and transformation ceremony. This thing went on for a year, largely conducted through symbology, as virtually all occult rituals are, and designed to bring everyone willingly and subserviently into the new global order. Next, and I put quotes on global. The occult ritual of mask wearing signals your consent to your new subservient position under your new masters, and the loss of your position as a vocal representative of or mouthpiece for the word of God on this earth. You cover up where God breathed the breath of life into the nostrils of Adam. How do you speak the word? When you've got a baby diaper on your face, right? So you just see this as a Christian, and you're like, what is happening? How did people give this up? The occult ritual of hand washing, here's the part 2, represents the washing away of the old order. Remember Pilate? Pontius Pilate? The Christian order you once belonged to, so that a new order can be ushered in and firmly established. What was the third one? Social distancing. Here it comes. The occult ritual of 6 feet of social distancing symbolizes the breaking apart of the body of Christ on earth so it no longer functions as a stable and cohesive unit. You know what? I went to Mexico. I got married in June of 2020. It wasn't 6 feet in Mexico. It was 5 feet in Mexico. Is it just because the people there are shorter? No. It was 5 feet in Mexico. That's the stupidity. That's the stupidity of it. And you know how they chose 6 feet? Arbitrarily. They say it was arbitrarily. We just chose 6 feet. And being 6 feet under. They say it was arbitrary, but we know. 6 is a very ritualistic number. You remember the 666 pyramid we just showed you with all the logos of your favorite companies? Yes. Number 4, what was number 4? The occult ritual of lockdown symbolized isolation from everything normal so you can be purified from your old ways, surrender your former status to the new order, sacrifice your very self to the new order, and finally willingly submit to the new order through obedience to it. This will go on until the new you evolves like a phoenix from the drama and the trauma straight into the waiting arms of Satan himself. Ultimately, they're breaking you down little by little by little. What'd they do to the kids? Same deal. It's catastrophe for kids' health. So vaccines continued. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on vaccines, but it's relentless and repetitive testing. It was a bioweapon and gain-of-function research. I'm not saying the thing even exists. I'm just saying they're doing bioweapon and gain-of-function research on a lot of stuff. But the gain-of-function is another term for this. Understand that. When they say gain-of-function in your mind, just like when somebody says depopulation or when somebody says abortion, think murder, okay? Abortion is a great word to disguise the true intent of infanticide, okay? But when they say gain of function, I want you to, in your mind, insert the word weaponization. Yeah. And a bioweapon is designed for one purpose. It's to kill other humans. Bioweapon, it's right in the name. Bio means life. Weapon means weapon. Something to destroy life, right? Worldwide rollout of 5G under the radar. While you were locked down for 2 weeks, the occult ritual, they had armies of people installing 5G towers on your kids' schools, your water towers, and your hotels, and your universities. Variants rolled out. Monkeypox. Everybody's got the monkeypox butt virus now, and the vaccine-induced polio. They rolled out and they said, you know what? Actually, a lot of people have the vaccine-induced autoimmune deficiency syndrome. You know what that means? AIDS. They're giving people AIDS. That's why I call it the COVIDs. I don't use the term people, it's COVIDs. They're giving people AIDS. So people in your family that got vaccinated, you better, I hope they have their affairs in order, and I hope you're on good terms with them, you know, because they planned this. It was all a plan that was brilliant in its inception and proves that they have technology 100 years ahead of us. They had to plan this for decades. It's brilliant. Sudden adult death syndrome. How many of you know about this? So everybody's dropping dead, right? And they come up with a new thing. It says sudden adult death syndrome. We don't know what it is. It's baffling. There's nothing that connects all these people. The doctors are baffled. What type of doctors are baffled? What type of doctors? The same ones that gave the vaccines, which are what type of doctors? Are they chiropractors? Are they natural health practitioners? Are they homeopaths? Are they medical doctors? Are they allopaths? So the same people that are giving people the shots are saying, you drop dead 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months later, we're baffled. A new syndrome comes out. And everybody who's been to my classes before, what does the word syndrome actually mean in medicine? Syndrome. They don't know the cause. Thank you, Ryan, who's been to every one of my classes for the last 7 years. Yes. Syndrome, every time. Every time you hear the word chronic fatigue syndrome, every time you hear the word fibromyalgia syndrome, every time you hear RISE syndrome, which you don't hear anymore, you hear autism, because it's the same thing. Right? Every time you hear those words, syndrome, know that that's medicine's admission that they don't know what causes it. Right, retired nurse? Thank you. So athletes dying worldwide, all over the place, right? You don't see that on Monday Night Football. Not that you should be watching that garbage anyway, but you don't see that on the news. Next. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on vaccines, but this is some stuff I want you to see. Fake pictures of people dropping in the streets in China was enough to start a worldwide panic. Live pictures or video of fit young athletes dropping down dead of heart attacks after taking the vaccines, not worth talking about. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of coaches, players dropping dead. Widely propagated through many news outlets that will not appear on your television set. Nope, go back. Media censorship, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. We got canned off YouTube. We got canned off Vimeo. If you're trying to look for the truth on these platforms, they're blacklisted. They're still shadow banning us on Facebook. That's why we set up an alternate Facebook page for you to view these videos. If we put it on our main page, they shadow ban us and no one ever finds us, even if you search for us. Cancer rates are skyrocketing. Infertility, sterilization, death, disease, they're all increasing. Insurance companies noticed increased mortality. Some of the insurance companies are saying there's 40%, 50, 80% increased mortality. What's this going to do to the insurance companies? Decimate, right? But this right here too, you got to understand the birth rate, the fertility rate of the United States is the lowest it's ever been in 100 years. I think I have a graphic on it later on. So all these people who got vaccinated, or they're around people who got vaccinated, guess what's happening? Well, there's this process called shedding that used to be very prominent in flu shots. Well, it's kind of like, what's the vaccine? How did they come up with, if you remember some of my previous classes, how did they come up with the hypodermic needle? What animal did they determine the hypodermic needle off of? A snake. A snake. So the term shedding is widely used in research circles to document, right, nurse? To document shedding particles of a vaccine through your pores, pee, poo, breathing, sweating, and blood. The ways that things always come out of your body, right? So if shedding happened with flu shots and every other vaccine that we've ever known, in other words, you give a kid a flu shot and his brother gets the flu, right? Widely known in the research, widely documented. They didn't call it shedding with this, they called it transmission. So the wife gets, or I shouldn't say the wife, it's always the dude. It's always the dude. The dude gets the shot, goes home, hops in bed with the wife. What's the wife get? COVIDs. They designed it like that on purpose. They knew not everybody was going to get it. But if we can get one member in the family, everybody else will get it. That's what they did. So that's why you're seeing this. That's why you're seeing this. And morticians all across the world documenting strange clots. They just pulled a 6-foot clot out of a 21-year-old kid last week. Football career over. He's like a high school, college football guy. They pulled a 6-foot clot out. I was like, you can watch videos, live videos of them pulling these clots out of dead people. They look like stuff that's out of Aliens. It doesn't look, I've never seen a blood clot. I've dissected humans. I've never seen a blood clot like that. It's unbelievable. Yeah. So I won't spend all night on vaccines, but this is something you ought to check out next. The Bluetooth documentary, I think you can only see it on Odyssey. It's about 35 minutes long. I highly recommend you check it out. I will give you the trailer, or the spoiler right now. There's 3 parts to it. And part 3, 3 parts. I'll just read this to you. Vaccinated subjects approach a Bluetooth reader, and a 12-digit MAC address appears for each. Bunch of PhDs down in Mexico. They said, we're going to go out in the middle of nowhere where there's no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth signals. We're going to line up our Bluetooth scanner in our computer right here. You're going to, all you unvaccinated people are going to walk across the field all one at a time. And as each person came across the field, they came into range of the Bluetooth reader and the computer. No signal, no signal. Follow through. Skip. Come down here to part 3. Unvaccinated subjects approach the Bluetooth reader. Those who generate a MAC address or a blip on the Bluetooth and the computer admit to having 1 or more PCR tests administered, but they were never vaccinated.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, wow. So people thought, well, shoot, I'll just go get tested and get a thing up my nose into the back of my brain. My question that you never thought of was, if this thing was so virulent, you had to stand 6 feet away, 6 feet apart, why are they shoving a Q-tip in the back of your nose? Why can't you spit in a cup? Right. What are they inserting? What are they doing? You're not thinking this way. You don't think this way. People don't think this way. But then part 2, back up. I left this for the last because this will blow your mind. The Bluetooth reader, they took it one step further. They took it to a cemetery. 4 signals appear on their Bluetooth scanner and on their computer. And all of those signals were coming from tombstones of people who had died in 2021 or 2022. I say this, and I put this in this class because I know most people aren't going to take the time or have the time to watch this thing. It's in subtitles. It's in Spanish. You have to either interpret it or you got to find one in English subtitles. But this thing is bad to the bone. They're all PhD people down in Mexico. Mexico's the freest country in the world right now. You're told it's the most dangerous country because they don't want you going. That's why. So, but no, go back. Go back. Summary. The graphene oxide was in 100% of all the tested vials. Okay? The vaccines do not list that component as a constituent at all. As a matter of fact, my pharmacist patients unrolled entire vaccine monographs this big and this big that were completely blank. Printed on both sides with absolutely nothing. They're playing tricks on people. You see this video, these pharmacists doing this, and you're like, they knew exactly what they were doing. When they shipped that package, they knew exactly. And by the way, didn't it have to be frozen to like 200 degrees below 0 or something? Tell me how that's good going into your veins. Nobody thinks that way. I know. Nobody gets it. But vaccines and PCR tests were the routes of entry, with transfers from vaccinated to unvaccinated also being a distinct possibility. So it's not just the vaccines, it's the damn swabs, because people are falling for the Q-tips up into their brain. Next. Number 2. Now, remind me. Number 1 there was vaccines. What type of doctors do the vaccines? Medical doctors. Okay. Now, right here, number 2 of the Psycho 7 depopulation agendas is the medical system. Right? Well, they do blood donation. I won't talk about it now, but well, yes, I will. Yes, I will. Everybody needs to know this. So the blood donation, you go give your blood, you go give your plasma. Somebody asked this question a few weeks ago. Who was it? No, she's not here. You go give your plasma. Where does the plasma go? The drug companies buy your plasma because you're the only machine in the world that can build these proteins. So they take the proteins harvested from human blood, they separate them in their alchemical black magic, voodoo, witchcraft, stuff that they do in the laboratories. They separate them, and then they make them into drugs, and then they sell them to you. And then you do what with the drugs? So you're consuming what when you take your drugs? So people want to look at me and go, well, I need my hypertension drugs. You're eating other people's blood. You're engaged in a cannibalistic ritual. But you think they've tricked you, they've lied to you, and they've told you you're going to die and your head's going to fall off if you don't take your hypertension meds. I get it. I understand. I do this for a living. But your Lipitor is not saving your life. Right, nurse? Right. So the blood donation thing is a scam. Get it off your license. We're not in a war. Why do they want your blood? What else are they doing with it? I'll let you imagine. And then B is pharmakia. That's DDNH number 108. If you go to the website, you can click on any of the other 5 video services. Or in Shotpocalypse, DDNH 148. That'll blow your mind. If you want to know everything that you need to know about vaccines, the Shotpocalypse is 148. And then the Cult of Modern Death Care, that is DDNH number 160. That discusses all this nonsense right here. Pharmakia, witchcraft, sorcery, black magic, Babylonian witchcraft, voodoo. That's what your medical system is based on. It's history, it's biblical, it's physiological, it's proof, it's science. I talk to pharmacists. I have patients who are nurses. I have patients who are pharmacists. They get it. They understand. So why don't other people? Good question. I don't know. Gene editing. The other thing you need to know about that, who's doing all this? What kind of doctors are doing all this? Medical, right? So the gene editing, that's the CRISPR stuff. We're running out of time. I won't get into it. But they're editing your genes. How are they doing it? Vaccines. FYI. DNA testing. How many of your friends and family are sending their DNA to forever be stored in a database that could then be planted at a crime scene or used to develop a disease that could take out an entire city, but just focused on you? How many people are taking their DNA and shipping it in the mail to 23andMe or Ancestry.com to be told that they're 20% African American? You do not want to give your DNA test to anybody. And what do they do with it when they yank it out of your nose? They got your DNA. Hello, right? It's unbelievable. People just fall for this crap left and right. Then upcoming trends in healthcare. Here you go. We'll talk more about this in the AI transhumanism section of the eugenic agendas. Surgeons will be replaced by robots. Pharmacists will be replaced by vending machines. I'm not kidding. I don't mean any disrespect to pharmacists, but this is what they say. We're going to save. Who's doing this? The insurance companies. They want to get rid of your surgeons. They've already got the Medici, they've already got the Da Vinci, they've already got all this stuff. The pharmacists, it won't be a pharmacist at the window. You will go up and you will punch in CVS 1-minute clinic. They have this, right? You know this? You can go in, you can punch in sore throat, watery eyes, stuffy head, and it'll spit out a prescription. You take it, you stuff it in a vending machine, and out comes the drug. Bye-bye pharmacist. They just saved $150,000 a year on a pharmacist that works 2 days, 3 days, 4 days a week. Radiologists will be replaced by artificial intelligence, because when you got artificial intelligence looking at stuff, the radiologists are thinking about, how many nurses they want to bang and how many golf games they want to play on Saturday and how much beer they want to drink. So I don't mean that as a hit against the radiologists. I mean, all the doctors want to bang the nurses, but the radiologists will be replaced by artificial intelligence because there's fewer mistakes. And they're going to do that with all of your healthcare. So people are running towards a burning system, a ship that's falling apart, and they're going, oh, I got to get on the ship. No, you don't. You got to get off that ship because they're trying to get off of it too, because the ones who are smart see what's coming. And then cannabis is co-opted by Big Pharma. Let me think. You take a weed, you take a plant, and then you demonize it, and then you take a substance off the plant, you genetically modify it, and you pump it back into the system for all of the dispensaries and all the farmers to grow. So now you can tax it and you can regulate it. Now it's co-opted, cannabis is co-opted by Big Pharma. So now everything that's grown out there is completely genetically modified, unless you talk to an old school brother who's like outside the system. It's unbelievable. They co-opted the hippies and then got the hippies and all the cannabis dispensaries to give out pots for shots and joints for jabs. So you'd go to the dispensary to get your shot, and then they give you some joints. I mean, you can't make this crap up. You cannot make this up. Anyway, that's all we'll talk about for the medical system. That's just a few little things. We'll run through all the facts for the reproductive health services. When Billy Bob was talking about if we do a great job with vaccines, we just talked about, healthcare, the medical system we just talked about, and reproductive health services, here we go, we can get rid of 10 to 15% of the population, right? Yeah, okay. So he doesn't say abortion, he says reproductive health services. Anyway, Roe versus Wade in 1973 made abortion legal nationwide. The same year, the U.S. government also passed the Federal Endangered Species Act, making it illegal to disturb an eagle's nest or to destroy a turtle's egg. I wish you could make this up.
Save the whales, kill the babies.
Save the whales. Like Keith Green said, you got to save those, or was it Keith Green? Save the whales, but you got to kill those babies, but we got to save those whales. Was that Keith Green? Anybody? Can't remember. It was some 70s Jesus movement guy. It was hilarious. But reproductive health services and birth control are alternate terms for abortion. Oh, before we move on there, here, what's embedded in this right here? What is embedded back in 50 years ago? What's embedded right there? Do you see that conservation and environmental planetary sustainability thing? We got to save everything else, but you damn humans, we got to get rid of you. You're such a cancer. Who does that sound like? If you're made in the image of God and they're trying to get rid of humans, guess whose image they're? You're right. They're following the God of this age. But then right here, reproductive health services, birth control, alternate terms. So when you hear those words, just like when you hear depopulation or you hear mass murder or you hear, sustainability, think the word depopulation. And when you hear the word or murder, when you hear the word reproductive health services, or when you hear the word birth control, think infanticide. Or in this case, you can think birth control, or you can think abortion. Like if you said, hey mom, if I'm a young girl, high school, hey mom, can you go get my infanticide pills for me after school today? Or can you go get my abortion pills for me after school? Well, we got to change the name. Hey mom, can you go pick up my birth control pills for me after school? That's why they do it. It's all ritual. It's all word magic. Carl Gerasi, I discovered this one time. Nadia and I were just hanging out. And I said, I've never thought about it. I wonder who created the birth control pill. And the minute that word came out of my mouth, I felt it was like, God, I just knew. The minute that question came out, I said, my God, he has to be a Nazi. Hopped online, did a 10-second search. I just simply typed in who created the birth control pill. Here's exactly the words that came up. Carl Gerasi, an Austrian-born chemist, fled Nazi Germany, and I wrote this, where they were killing people, right? To come to the United States in 1939 and invent the birth control pill, which subsequently kills people. I wrote that part too. But this right here is the part that came up. It's instant, right there, right in your face. The minute that question came out of my mind, I thought, oh God, who created the birth? So if you think of anything in medicine and you ask the question, who, and it kills somebody and it's negative and it's bad, who came up with it? I guarantee you'll get the same answer. Guaranteed. As you'll discover through the rest of this. Next. Well, yeah, we'll talk. I think we talk about it here in a minute. Write this down, write this down, write this down. Go to YouTube. Type in this video, How the Pill Kills, Dr. Angela Lanfranchi. I know, I get it. Your daughters and your granddaughters are all on birth control pills because they bleed and they hurt and they have acne. And they promise them that, oh, your skin will be better and, you won't menstruate and you won't bleed, it won't be as messy, there won't be as much pain. And they're right. But what are the stipulations further down the road? You don't want to know. Watch that. 17 minutes long. It's very much worth your time. If you happen to be someone who doesn't take notes in something like this, at least take a picture of that. Aborted baby body parts in food, vaccines, cosmetics, widely known, covered up for decades, out in your face right now. Statistics on abortion. All combined, annual worldwide deaths that are associated with AIDS, cancer, motor vehicle accidents, smoking, alcohol, heart disease do not come close to totaling the number of children put to death through abortion. The combined total still falls at least 10 million short of the number of abortions around the world each year. Next. It's unbelievable. Statistics on abortion continued. Here we go. Our friends at the World Hoax Organization say the top 10 causes of combined annual death worldwide still do not approximate the total count of abortion-related deaths worldwide. Now, you could say, are they telling the truth or not? Who knows? But at least they're saying the same stats that we know that are out there. They have to tell the truth every once in a while, right? In the U.S. alone, an estimated 99% of abortions are not carried out because of medical necessity. The most frequently cited reason for abortion? convenience. Next. Stats from the AGI, the Guttmacher Institute. We might talk about this in a minute. Everybody says, well, abortion, well, what about incest? What about rape? No problem. Pregnancy resulted from an incestuous relationship, 0.001. That's 1 in 1,000%. What about rape? Woman's life was endangered by the pregnancy. Okay, 0.065. The woman was raped, 0.085. Okay, we're still cooking with gas because we got 99% left. Women's physical health was threatened by the pregnancy, 0.288. The women's psychological health was threatened by the pregnancy, 0.294. There was a serious fetal or abnormality, 0.666. Is that a typo? Probably. The woman aborted for social or economic reasons. Okay, you got about 6.5%. And then right here, no reason, elective, 92.3%. So there it is from AGI, from Guttmacher. Let's keep going. Washington Examiner says in 2018, 42 million pregnancies were prematurely terminated, making abortion the leading cause of death in the world. Unlike the other leading causes of death, abortion is almost 100% preventable.
Shouldn't you leave out the word almost?
That's the quote. No, I can't. That's the quote. But they could. From 2010 to 2014, an average of almost 60 million abortions each year were performed around the world. That yearly total is about the same number it's taken the U.S. to aggregately accumulate over a 50-year period. 60 million is 10 times more than Jewish deaths in the Holocaust, if you believe that number, which there's some leeway for that number, and the same number of deaths recorded throughout all of World War II. It's disgusting. And let me remind you, what doctors are in charge of this again? But remember, I want you to remember, I'm the quack. I want you to remember that. Next. These numbers are most likely much lower than the actual total, since large portions of the world do not even record, much less report, all the stats. So also there are many doors purposefully left closed, FYI. Statistics we do have are from the UN, the World Hoax Organization, Guttmacher Institute, and the Center for Reproductive Rights. So here's another way to interpret this. Since 1980, 1.5 billion children have been killed worldwide. This figure is over 20% of the world's current population. This is the real pandemic. It is not some invisible fake virus floating around giving you the flu. The same number of people in the United States died in 2020 as did in 2019, 2018, 2017. The research is there. The non-paid for, government-funded, non-government-funded research is there. If you watch the TV and you listen to the people who took the money, they'll tell you all kinds of other crap. Reproductive health services, statistics. How does one get around this? It's really simple. Here it is. You ready? This is how they get around killing 1.5 billion children. Your medical doctors killing 2 billion children. This is how they get around it. Here's how it goes. The medical industry asserts that fetuses are not really persons. So if it's not a person, it's not illegal to kill it. And if it's not illegal, it's not murder. So if it's not murder, it's not a legitimate death. See the doublespeak? When he speaks lies, he speaks his native language because he cannot tell the truth. Next. So the medical community does not confer personhood upon fetuses that are not viable outside the womb. So counting abortion as a cause of death is not aligned with the practices of health, says Snopes, a debunking site run by a pedophile, right? I don't know if many of you know Snopes, but Snopes is all that, they debunk, they fact check you, right? It's fake. Remember, this is done in medical facilities by who? Medical doctors with what? Medical equipment purchased through what? Medical device manufacturers. There are scientists, engineers, nurses, people who have to train to do all these procedures. There are people who build these devices that suck the babies out and grind them in a blender. There are devices that do all of this, and it's financed and it's an industry. Where do they order the equipment? There's catalogs. I won't go into it. We won't show it. Keep going. Where do all the parts go? When they suck the babies out, where do all the parts go? Oh, I don't know. Where'd we discuss? Yeah, they sell them. Where'd we discuss that your blood goes? Number 4. Oh, and just less everybody. Number 3 there, the abortions. Who's in charge of that again? What kind of doctors? Is it holistic doctors? Is it chiropractors? It's your medical doctors. You're still believing in a system that murders people. Get out of the system of Babylonian witchcraft. Get out of it, or you will pay the price, I promise. We won't spend much time on this. This is geoengineering. It decimates all three sources of energy, the sun, the wind, and the hydro. They designed it like that. I had a whole class on this. I'm not going to go into it. This is all we're going to talk about, geoengineering. You would know it as chemtrails. You probably may not have even seen them ever happening. You've been under them. You've probably never noticed them unless you've come to a class here or been very, very astute in your own private life, because 99% of the people you meet on a daily basis have no idea this is happening. But chemtrails, conspiracy people like myself call them chemtrails, right, Jonathan? Scientists and government people call it geoengineering. So if you search for one term, you'll only find crap. If you search for geoengineering, you'll find government patents. Decimates all three sources of energy. There's a class we did called Divine Design Natural Health 154. It's called Hands in the Air, and that's all about this topic. If you want to know more about it, if you're a pilot, if you're a flight attendant, you want to know about this. And we go through the research, we go through other documentary evidence and websites that you can go to on your own and do your own and look through it. But that's just an introduction to the whole topic. Project Scope X, run by who? Guess who came up with that one? Bill Gates of hell. Project Scope X, they plan on blocking out the sun, right? The sun will be blackened and the moon will give no light. You've heard that before, right? Plants need carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and dihydrogen oxide. What's another word for dihydrogen oxide? You can't get anything past you guys. You guys changed your blinker fluid today, didn't you? So plants need carbon dioxide and water and sunlight. The globalists have declared war on two of these. Which ones? Sunlight, carbon dioxide. So which one's coming next? Water. So the goal is to take away your food, your health, your freedom, and your economy. How are they doing it? They're throwing crap in the air. It's killing all the food and the bees and the animals and everything else. And they're telling you it's your fault because the cows are farting and you're driving an SUV. That's why. You are the carbon they want to reduce. That's all I'm going to tell you about that. Move on. Number 5, transgenderism. This is wonderful. It's great. It's fabulous. I don't know if we have this video. Oh, yeah. If you guys haven't seen this, check this out. Roll it.
What is a woman? Can you tell me that? Well, you're at the Women's March. You must have some idea. Please, if one person could tell me what a woman is.
You are not here for women. We ask you to leave.
What is that?
I'm a husband. I'm a father of 4. I host a talk show. I give speeches. I write books. I like to make sense of things.
A woman is not anything in particular.
There is not one particular thing.
It could be many things to many people.
Some women have penises, right? Some men have vaginas.
I like scented candles, and I've watched Sex and the City.
Yeah.
How do I know if I'm a woman?
That's a great question.
You're not a scientist. You're not a gender studies major.
No.
How do you know that you're a man?
I guess because I got a dick.
Can a man become a woman?
I'm not a woman, so I can't really answer that.
Women only know what women are.
Are you a cat?
No.
Can you tell me what a cat is? Do you want to tell us what a woman is?
I'm a biological woman that medically transitioned to appear like a male. I will never be a man.
And so they go on the internet and they're told that all of their problems will be solved if they become a man.
So you worry that there could be a sort of social contagion element of this?
A teeny tiny bit, maybe.
It got me at 42. Your child doesn't have a chance.
And you're affirming it with hormones that have never been used in this way.
Puberty blockers, which are completely reversible.
Completely reversible.
One of the drugs used is Lupron, right? Which has actually been used to chemically castrate sex offenders.
You know what? I'm not sure that we should continue with this interview.
So you don't want to talk about the drugs that you give to kids, or?
How can they be removing the healthy breasts of 15-year-old girls?
There are masculine girls. There are feminine boys. What are we going to do about that? Carve them up?
How can this whole thing be happening, Matt?
I wanted us to have a safe place to be able to talk about this.
Part of me wants to ask why you care so much.
I care about the truth. I care about children. I care about the women who are having their opportunities stolen from them.
Is it transphobic to tell the truth?
The interview's over. Let's turn off the cameras.
Excuse me.
Well, they're fair. I just wanted to know, what is a woman?
And you're not going to find out.
Based on what I'm saying, would you ever want to move to America?
They say no, never.
We'll see when it comes out.
That's for real. If you haven't seen that yet, you should. It came out months ago. It just recently got banned on a lot of social media platforms and stuff like that. That's Matt Walsh. The documentary is called What is a Woman? He went around to universities and asked all these gender studies professors that your kids are probably taking classes from in psychological and psychiatric programs and gender studies majors. He went around and asked people, what is a woman? He went to the Women's March. What's a woman? They screamed at him. So now it's all of this libtard theology that they worship, where you can't even talk about what a woman is or what a man is. Why do they do this? Why is there such confusion? Because their god, Baphomet, is androgynous. It's half male, half female. Baphomet has, and we talked about Baphomet. We showed Baphomet pictures, everything. And he's got breasts, but he's got penis too. Yeah. It's in Pharmakia. It's the logo of the AMA. I mean, come on. It's right there in front of your face. American Medical Association. So, transgenderism. True marriage is debased. Gender is relative and fluid. Family is fractured. Homes destroyed. The LGBTQIA, WTF, ETC, the history, the cause of homosexuality. We can talk about this. I was going to discuss this where if I don't want to be here till 12 o'clock tonight. If the cameras go off and you want to know about this, we can talk about it. But the psychiatric drugging, the plastics, the food, the vaccinating, medicating, glyphosating, cosmeticating, all of that, file it right here. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Go back to that slide and find out why people can't think straight. Scientific American article, newborn babies. I forget the year. I could not find the article because it's probably been scrubbed from the internet because of all the censorship. But newborn babies with 200 chemicals born in their umbilical cord blood. That's widely known. I mean, that's in my circles. That came out. Everybody talked about it. Recent emails where people sign their names and follow it with their preferred pronouns. For example, from John Smith at the very end of their email, and it'll say he, him, his. Yeah. I saw this. I wrote this down. I thought, I have to tell the class this. This is so stupid. I can't believe this. If I saw this, I would, a Domino's pizza delivery driver, I'm sitting at a stoplight. This guy's delivering Domino's pizzas, and the bumper sticker in front of me said, I'm so gay I can't even drive straight. I've never wanted to be a cop so bad in my life. Next. Diagnostic and Statistical Manual no longer categorizes homosexuality as a mental disorder. You want to know about that? Check this class out. Land of the Free, Home of the Crazed. That was August 23rd, 2021. I don't have a number for that one. However, always tampons remove the female symbol from their packaging because they're not menstruating women anymore. It's menstruating persons. Babies are now babies. Breastfeeding is now called chest feeding because dudes can breastfeed now, of course. Don't you know that? Silly. It's 2021. Why aren't the animals arguing about this? You'll never see a transgender plant or a fish or a bird. Only humans are this stupid. Your clothing has a gender. Why don't you? Which begs the question, these are some questions. I saw this whole thing blowing up about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and I came up with questions. But because in one class we covered the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue has a dude on it. Okay, it's a trans woman. They didn't put the Olympic weightlifter on there. We covered that in a class. I think it was all about diet because we were saying this is what people think is healthy, and we put the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, and it was a dude. Here's some other questions. When does the trans agenda make it into the UFC fighting so that wife beating can be legal and supported in gambling circles? Because that's really all it is, just gambling. It's fighting, it's loving of violence, the lovers of violence, lovers of pleasure, and it's just gambling. When does the trans agenda make it into zoos? Such as like this mouse identifies as a gorilla, this mouse identifies as a cobra. I mean, it sounds stupid, but so do dudes having babies until a couple of years ago, right? When does the trans agenda make it into prison so that a man, perhaps a rapist, who, to make it really interesting, who identifies as a woman can go to a women's penitentiary? Next. When does the trans agenda make it into retailers who have to take down the men's and women's sections of clothing so everyone wears burqas and dresses? What happens to your driver's license? Which genders will be included? Will Victoria's Secret carry men's bras? What happens when men start showing up at radiology labs to get mammograms? I'm not kidding. What's going to happen? Are the radiology people going to be sued? No, they're going to cater. They're going to buckle because they're going to get discrimination lawsuits. Keep going. What happens when men start showing up, or what happens when they start showing up at OB clinics for hysterectomies? I mean, it's laughable, but it's going to happen. What happens to the military? What happens to sports? What happens to Oscars and Grammys? The award for the best female actress goes to... Question mark, right? What happens to medical schools? Anatomy books will have to be changed. I'm dead serious. They've already got this under wraps. They're already doing it. And who's doing it? What type of doctors are doing it? What about, go back, what about you're going to need transgender cadavers in labs for the kids to learn on, so where do we acquire these? You think this is a joke, but they're working on it. The medical doctors are already aligned. Who does a gender reassignment surgery on a kid? What type of doctors? Where did these ideas come from? Nazi Germany, which came from? Correct. Next. So that's all I'll say about the transgender nonsense. The guy says to the girl, hey, remember to connect male to female. And she says, why assign gender roles to electrical connections? Let the circuits decide for their own identities. Oh my God. That's got to be one of the greatest memes because it's melting down. God, that's funny. I saved that one for a year just to put in this slide, just in this. I thought it was so creative, so funny. God, that's funny. I love that. Next. How long before a sandwich is deemed offensive and called gender-neutral meat sauce? You're laughing at it, but it's on the horizon. I know we live in confusing times, so let's just keep this simple. Male, female. Any questions? Why do they want to mess these terms up? Because God created them male and female. Right. And a lot of churches are doing what? Caving. 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 Bowing down. Bowing down. That's it. Makes me sick. The same churches that don't read the whole book, right? So, artificial intelligence and transhumanism. If you want to know more about this, check out Divine Design Natural Health, DDNH 126 and 133. That's from March 2021 and May 2021. They're called Artificial and Natural, Part 1 and 2. That's 126 and 133. What's transhumanism? It's a melding of man and machine. Transhumanists, futurists, bioethicists, legal scholars, currently busy themselves with the ethical, legal, and inevitable ramifications of what they are now calling post-humanity in government-funded research centers and universities around the world. There's no such thing as government funded. What is that actually? Taxpayer funded. There's no such thing as government funded. The government doesn't produce anything. They steal from you. So these modifications to life may alter physical appearance, sensory modalities, disease propensity, personality, behavior traits, and more to be sold to the public as desirable. If you want to see more, go to Humanity Plus magazine. There's a whole magazine of transhumanists. They have their own magazine. And then you can go learn more. If you want to really get your mind blown, go to their website, the hplusmagazine.com. Go to their website, go to their FAQs, and then how does transhumanism relate to religion? That will blow your mind. Check it out. Next, Human Genome Project, effort to reverse engineer the very operating system of the human body. It was all fake. It was all fake. None of it made sense. It was all fake. The Human Genome Project, it was fake. Artificial intelligence is an oxymoron when you're a believer. Say it a few times. Artificial intelligence. Synthetic biology, so here's some things they're coming up with. Design of new life forms with biological functions absent in nature. You know, like they'll make fish glow so the fishermen can see them and catch them easier. No, I'm just kidding. But science fiction wonders like quantum computing, vast internet networks, blockchain technology, space weapons, direct energy weapons, you know, all the stuff that starts the fires over in Colorado and California. Human-like robotics, killer military robots and drones, biometric identification, facial recognition, genetic editing, holographic imaging, virtual reality, all this crap. Yeah, science fact. It used to be science fiction. Next. So we're just going to blaze through some of these things. Oh. And when we talked about all of the Human Genome Project, like all the crimes, think of the stuff that has to change. You investigate a crime scene, you find somebody's DNA. Guess what? They may or may not have been there anymore. They might not have ever stepped foot in that place because that could have been planted there long ago from somebody else. Because now that they have access to all your DNA, guess what? They can put it in a PCR machine, not a PCR test, a polymerase chain reaction machine. That's what this does. That's what those things do. And they can create more copies of your DNA. That's what PCR actually does. So when people rolled out these real-time PCR tests and they said, oh, I'm testing for COVID. No, that's not how that works. It makes more copies of whatever you put into it. It's not that, it doesn't test you. It's not like a pregnancy test and it has a little line on it. It doesn't have that. It's not how those work. So here's other stuff. How many of these do you have? Are you wearing a government-sponsored tracking device that monitors your physical location, your blood pressure, and your emotions, among other things, that's on your watch? Did you pay a bunch of money to Apple to monitor your location? And thereby, people go, well, I don't have anything to hide. Okay, that may be the case. But if they know that you're sitting in the middle of a class at 3800 Keith Street, guess what they also know? They know you're not home. That's stupid. That's really stupid. Bluetooth pacemakers and electrosurgical implants, you come out of your surgery, you got a pacemaker on, they just didn't tell you that it's Bluetooth and that they can control it. Hello. If it receives and sends a signal, guess what? You ain't the one controlling it, right? Bluetooth blood pressure cuffs to communicate with your doctor. I never knew this. Somebody told me this. A patient told me this last week, and it never occurred to me. But I realized, she said, yeah, they wanted me to have a Bluetooth, or a Bluetooth blood pressure cuff at my house. And I said, well, why is it Bluetooth? So every time you put your arm in it, it sends your blood pressure to your doctor's office. And she said, I didn't want that crap. I said, oh my God, I didn't even know those existed. Well, no wonder I didn't know they existed, because they already invented these. They don't need these anymore. That was years ago that she heard that. And I said, I've never heard of that. But then I realized, well, they don't need that anymore. They already made them. Breast implants. I bet we've had 10 or 15 patients probably that have, once they learn about what we do and once they understand, they go, oh my gosh, I need something I need to tell you. And I go, oh no, it's right here in your paperwork. You want to talk about it now? It's about time, because I never mentioned it to them on day one. It's just like having a mouthful of amalgams or something they can't change easily. You don't want to mention this. But there's this thing called BII, breast implant illness. If you know anybody with breast implants, you might want to get them to go over to Facebook and check out the BII groups, because you'll see women only, dudes can't join. So, Gordon, I'm sorry. But you can't join because there's pictures revealing kind of like, here's my scars and here's what the doctor did. It's grody. It's grody, grody, grody. But the breast implant thing, once women figure it out, they get them taken out. We've walked 10 or 15 women through the whole process. It's a surgical thing. It costs more to get them taken out than it costs to put them in. But breast implants, that's a sign, a thing that's getting people towards joining with machine, which is what transhumanism is all about. Blood sugar monitor implants, you watch the cartoons now, the kids have little blood sugar things on the cartoons. Intrauterine devices, IUDs, so they've got a little thing in your uterus. It's a birth control thing that's releasing crap into your body that you don't want. So we get people's IUDs taken out. Hip, knee, ankle replacements. People think it's, bone on bone. I have to have my knee replaced. No, you don't. They lied to you. There's no such thing. It's not bone on bone. We can fix it. Hip, knee, and ankle replacements. They're doing ankle replacements. They're doing shoulder replacements too. It's nuts. Neuralink by Elon Musk. I'd tell you some stuff about him, but if you want to read the curriculum vitae or the resume for the Antichrist, go to the Wikipedia page for Elon Musk and just read the first 3 pages. They're doing brain chip implants, already underway. Selling it to people as, you're paraplegic, you're quadriplegic, we'll put a brain chip implant into you called Neuralink, and you'll be great. And they sell it in that regard. Artificial insemination. Where does artificial insemination, why do you need artificial insemination? Because you're already vaccinated, medicated, glyphosated, food sedated, irradiated, doctrinated. You only need this. You only need this and this if you already fell for being sterilized. So the whole in vitro fertilization, the whole fertility clinic thing is a multi-gazillion-dollar industry because they know people, if they want a kid, what are they going to do? Money, 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 money. So it's due to infertility. Both of those things right there. Injectable biologic, said to protect from infection or to lessen symptoms. What's an injectable biologic? It's a fancy word for a vaccine that insurance companies will cover in different ways than vaccines. Because they changed the definition of vaccine, right? Nanotech machines that swim through blood to distribute medicines. Who controls those nanotech machines? So we always tell people here, don't you ever put anything in your body, anything from a store, any supplement, anywhere that says nanotech on it. Ever. Don't you ever, 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 ever do that. We don't use anything in this office that has nanotech in it, ever. That right there will save your life. You're welcome. You're welcome. Next. Smart appliances that track and reorder your inventory. Smart meters to control your electrical consumption. You know what's going on in Europe right now? Germany and France, and in the winter, they're going to freeze because of Russia and the fake war with Ukraine. Well, if I don't get banned off of everything tonight, it'll be a miracle of the living God, won't it? Smart meters, they're going to shut off your electricity. It's coming. It's already hitting Europe here coming pretty soon. Their electric bills are 1,000 times higher than what they were this time last year because of the fake war with Russia, right? Transgenic animals being used to produce pharmaceutical compounds. Transgenic, meaning altered DNA, transgenic. Switched genes. That's what that word means. Trans means switched. That's what that means. First AI rapper appeared 2 weeks ago. They did not use classical music. They did not use jazz. They did not use bluegrass. Heck, they didn't even stick a beer bottle in his hand and do country. They did rap. There's a reason, yeah. There's a reason why they did rap. The first AI rapper, it's a completely auto-generated, computer-generated AI, artificial intelligence rapper. Look this up. His name's FN Mecca. Funny. Animal breeding to grow transplantable human organs. Building a better mouse and building a better mousetrap at the same time, right? Google Contact Lens will measure blood glucose. This stuff's been out. These next few points here have been out for like 5 years. Google Contact Lenses will measure blood glucose in the tears of diabetics. That's how they're selling it, at least, right? HoloLens by Microsoft will cast digital information into your field of sight. Notice these names, Google, Microsoft, right? Surgeons will look inside organs without making incisions. Yeah, right. Medical 3D printing of organs, glands, and cells is on the way. This is stuff from a seminar I went to 5 years ago. Personalized pharmaceutical drugs will soon be printed at home. What does that tell you? They're fake, right? How are you going to print them at home? They're fake because they're chemicals. That's how you're going to print them. They've always been chemicals. That's all they are, right? iKnife treats, and they can be proteins from other people's blood. They can be proteins. That's going to be hard to print on a printer. iKnife heats tissue to make incisions with minimal blood loss while analyzing vapor with mass spectrometry to identify malignant tissue in real time. I mean, they're just going to sell all this stuff. What if you never had cancer? You never need this. What if you never were dependent on pharmaceutical drugs? You don't need this. What if you didn't have diabetes? You wouldn't need that, the previous one, right? So the whole point, what I'm getting at here, is all of this crap is completely useless if you're healthy. If you don't need a brain implant and your legs didn't go dead from multiple sclerosis, guess what? You don't need any of this crap they're selling, right? Wearable and embedded e-skin sensors can collect and transmit data 24/7 to the iCloud. Little skin sensors that read your bioelectromagnetivity. IBM's Watson can review 40 million documents in 15 seconds to, see how they sell this always? To assist physicians in critical decision-making. There's an Atomwise and a Google DeepMind Health are all other examples. See, they always tell you this. They always tell you, if you're in the emergency room and the doctors have to search through your medical records, right? You think they're really gonna, go back please? You think they're really gonna go through all your medical records? First of all, nobody has that many. 15 seconds. And to assist physicians in critical decision-making. You could go to every specialist in this world and they're not going to be looking through your medical records with Google DeepMind when you're laying on the operating table. But they're always going to tell you it's to assist your health. They're always going to tell you that. Next. There we go. Almost done. Each of these is born of the flawed, antiquated, erroneous theory of human evolution from inanimate matter to sophisticated life. Evolution's downfall is also its acceptance in the church, unfortunately. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. So many people believe it. So the stated contradiction, however, I went to a seminar a little while ago. Yeah. And this guy was talking about all the same stuff. He was talking about all this great stuff. He was saying, yeah, in the near future, we're going to have all this, and we're going to have all that. And it's going to be, the doctors will be able to look at everybody's stuff all at once. He's a chiropractor. I'm at the seminar, and I'm just going, is this guy smoking rock? Who thinks this is a good idea? But his whole thing at the very end, he listed all this stuff, all this AI and all this craziness. And at the very end, he said, we need to embrace technology, but never let it control our lives. He's brainwashed. It was like, and 2 minutes earlier, dude, you were just talking about putting nanotech, medicine robots in your bloodstream. The double-mindedness, like a wave tossed to and fro upon the sea, is astounding to me. It's absolutely astounding. I cannot believe it. But that was a chiropractor preaching for artificial intelligence. Unbelievable. Anyway, number 7, this is it. New Age religion. Unfortunately, this is a quote of mine. I'll put it, I wanted to cover a lot of different things in one quote. Here's the easiest way to do it. Most practitioners of modern medicine are steeped in an antiquated mindset of evolution, drugs, surgery, tending to shun any therapy that is not happily sanctioned by the openly corrupt pharmaceutical industry or gloriously advertised by government-subsidized mind-control marketing techniques, readily available upon the television, devil vision, located in most living rooms. That's how everybody gets programmed. So unfortunately, most practitioners of modern medicine, that's what they do. But unfortunately, most natural health practitioners, such as myself, I hear this problem all the time. Somebody came to us last week. Yeah, we saw you on the internet. You're the only natural health place we can find that doesn't have a Buddha statue. Or New Age paintings of Reiki and yoga and Tai Chi and all this nonsense, pagan voodoo crap. So they came here. Said, well, thank you. Yeah, that's good. I hope it comes across. But unfortunately, most natural health practitioners gravitate towards New Age paganism. They've co-opted ancient and simple wisdom, making it so foreign to so many, such as respect for the stewardship of nature has become sun worship, healthy eating has become spiritual works of sustainability, veganism and vegetarianism and fasting and other practices that have become the norm in so many schools and families. Muscular calisthenics, stretching, doing something physical has given way to the yoga of polytheistic Hindu mythology. You want to know anything about yoga? Go ask my wife. Go ask my wife just about the history of yoga. She'll blow your mind. Meditation is done to empty the mind rather than to meditate upon Scripture and to fill the mind with God's Word. So their God is one of their own opinion and construction. And in the process, unfortunately, they have set ancient pagan idols of wood and stone on display in their offices to influence them invisibly, not knowing the history or the hidden purpose of what they condone. And unfortunately, I see that in my own realm, in my own circles of people who I talk to them about the Bible, they don't get it. So they faked the moon landing, now they're going to Mars on your taxes. NASA, in Hebrew, the word NASA is to deceive, by the way, just FYI. You might want to look into this, people. If you still think they landed on the moon 50 years ago and they haven't been back in 50 years and no other country has been there in 50 years, you have been indoctrinated, medicated, glyphosated. They were supposed to go back to the moon 2 weeks ago. Never happened. But what happened to all the hundreds and millions of dollars of all the stuff that the government funded? Wait a minute. Taxpayer funded. See where it's all going? And people are watching and cheering for Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos riding penis spaceships into the space. They're not in space. They're not in space. And you're not living on a spinning blue ball. Shiva stands on a baby at CERN. What does that mean? Check this out. Is there a picture there, Jonathan? Or I think it's coming up. Yeah. The logo of CERN, which we'll talk about in a minute, if you don't know. Here's Shiva the Destroyer. Remember Abaddon? Remember Apollyon? Remember? We'll talk about him. Again, I put that in there earlier so you'd see it. But right here, the Destroyer, multi-armed, androgynous, standing on what looks like an infant. It's in their mythology, in the polytheistic Hindu mythology of pagan voodoo and witchcraft, it's a dwarf. It's a mustached, long-haired dwarf, which is even creepier than a baby for some reason. But that's CERN, okay? D-wave quantum computing. I won't go into this. Oh, wait, did we skip? Where are we at? D-wave quantum computing, go back. D-wave quantum computing. Gordy Rose, go to YouTube, go look for Gordy Rose, Gordi Rose, Temple of the Alien God. And you will hear a TED Talk of a dude, a computer designer, of the D-Wave quantum computing system, which is all the D-Wave, the quantum computing stuff. And he's saying, when we first turned it on, it was like it was humming, like we were standing before the altar of an alien god. This is what they're doing with these computers. What do I mean? I'll show you. Let's check. Oh, and remember this, we mentioned this at the beginning. They had as king over them the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon and in Greek is Apollyon, that is, destroyer. Shiva the destroyer to the Hindus was Apollo to the Greeks, was, Greek, Apollo. Oh, who was it to the Romans? Who was Apollo in Greek was who to the Romans? Mars, the god of war, the destroyer. Next. So the Greek, all the Egyptian and Babylonian gods migrated into, the Greek took over, and then the Romans took over. They're all the same demons. They're just renamed by different societies. But CERN and the Large Hadron Collider sit on top of the ruins of an ancient Roman town known as Apolliacum. Does that name look familiar? And an ancient Roman temple to Apollo. Apollyon, Abaddon the destroyer. Interesting, isn't it? So the town and temple were dedicated to Apollyon. The ancients believed the town sat over the bottomless pit. CERN seeks to open portals to other dimensions. What's CERN? I forget. I was going to put it in here, but it's the Council on European Nuclear Radiation. So I'll say it in European. Council on European Radiation Nuclear. So CERN is the European Radiation Council. If you were to say it, European Nuclear Radiation Council, okay? So what they're doing is they're building, they already built years ago, a Large Hadron Collider. They smash atoms together and they see what happens. And in doing so, what they're just attempting to do is to enter alternate dimensions and bring entities over from alternate portals of entities, stargates, if you will, alternate entities over from other dimensions. But it just so happens that they built this thing on the site of an ancient Roman temple to Apollo. And they just so happen to have a statue of Shiva balancing on a baby, a dwarf baby, at the, yeah, what a coincidence, right? So are these people Satanists? Wide out in the open when you see that logo. The Locust Army is the this is what they believe. In our book, the Locust Army in Revelation is the resurrection of their dead and the release from prison of their fallen angels they are in communication with that gives them all this technology and secret knowledge of wisdom. Technology. Technology is the study of the craft, by the way. That's what the word means. They are being given information and technology, science of the craft, like Aleister Crowley and others in the past. If you don't know who Aleister Crowley is, look it up. If you don't know who Alice Bailey is, church people, look up Alice Bailey. If you don't know who Margaret Sanger is, look up Margaret Sanger. June 24th, 2016, the Awake experiment was the first of its kind. An apparition appeared in the sky directly over the Large Hadron Collider at the precise time of the experiment. You can look this up online. It's unbelievable. Powers in the heavens and signs and demonic signs and wonders. It's being fulfilled. You're living in the time when Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John wanted to live, people. And most people are sitting on their thumbs going, well, I don't know if I should wear a mask or should I get shot up? What should I do? The Goddard Base Tunnel, June 1st, 2016, was a dedication ceremony of the tunnel. They were attempting to open the gates of hell. If you did not see every dignitary from every European country sitting around watching a goat hump a woman in a choreographed ritual of dancers, not a real goat, but a dude dressed like a goat, like Satan. It's the birth of the Antichrist is what they're showing. You need to see this. And you can still watch it on YouTube. See, they ban people like me on YouTube, but you can go watch this on YouTube. Type that in. Goddard Base Tunnel. Go watch that. It'll be the biggest waste of an hour of your life ever. And you will see, you will be pissed off, and you will watch every prime minister and minister of health minister from European countries just sitting there going, oh, beautiful. And these people are demons. And they're doing a satanic ritual to open the tunnel, the biggest, longest tunnel into the earth between Switzerland and France, I believe. Also, the most complicated human machine. The modern day Tower of Babel is this. Modern day. And they're worshiping the beast. It is sick. But it's been around, that was 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 6 years ago. For the last few years, the Large Hadron Collider has been closed for retooling and improvements as it's being transformed into the high luminosity LHC. Completion of the upgrade will be complete in 2027. Oh my goodness. Ray Kurzweil, futurist and writer, says AI, artificial intelligence, will be sentient, in other words, self-aware by 2029, just in time for Agenda 2030, right? How did we get through this whole thing and I did not mention 2030? Oh my gosh. Anyway, we're almost done. Green scheme, the climate change hoax, the war on carbon, electric vehicles, the fossil fuels, the crickets and the mealworms, and cannibalism. You ready? Insect protein factories. They're setting them up all over the place. Who's financing them? The same people who are trying to kill you. So the insect protein factories going everywhere. What are they doing? They're trying to get you to eat bugs, worms, crickets, mealworms, and cockroach milk. Don't forget, cockroach milk is better for you than cow's milk. Don't forget that. Cows are farting, so you have to eat our lab-grown meat. You've already heard this, Beyond Meat, Impossible Burger. If you want to know more about this and the fake plant-based food crap that they're trying to shove down you and your kids' throats, watch the class. I don't have it written down, the number. Good versus fad. That's what that class is all about. Food manufacturers now have relaxed labeling requirements to allow them to make ingredient changes without changing the label. All due to COVID supply chain disruptions. That's been going on for 2.5 years now. So they don't have to tell you what's in the stuff anymore. It can be fake. And they can say, well, we don't have enough people on staff to change the labels. So, Plant-based foods, we talked about, oh, here it is. 126 and 161. If you want to know about what's going on with the plant, there's no such thing as a plant-based food. It's fake. Plant-based food. 126 and DDNH 161. Hybrid transgenic GMO crops, we talk about that in all the food classes, the what do I eat class, the what's in those supplements class, all that. Programmable smart dust applications for global tracking. They just drive planes over certain areas, sprinkle a bunch of pixie dust, it's called smart dust, sprinkle it out, and they can track those molecules through your bowel and into the sewer. They know where everything is. They can figure it out. You want to know more about that? See DDNH 154. And you need to understand 5G, so you need to go watch the 5G pentagram. 5, by the way, how did I get that name? Because 5 in Latin is penta, and gram, the abbreviation for gram is a G, so 5G is pentagram. It's right in front of your face. So the 5G pentagram class that we did was DDNH 153. If you know what to look for and you know how to decipher it, and you've got discernment in you, you can see right through this nonsense. So you need to understand 5G. That's the 5G pentagram, DDNH 153. And on that note, commercial break, Angie, come on up. Yay, Angie.
This patient said, I had major problems with arthritis in my left knee and it was difficult to walk at times. Since eating whole foods and taking supplements and care from Divine Design, I no longer have knee issues. Recently, my husband and I took a 2-hour walk to a waterfall and I had no issues. Thank you, Divine Design. God bless you all.
Wow. And that was that a bone-on-bone thing with the knee, or did she say?
I'm not sure.
Probably. They're all bone-on-bone. Have you ever heard a knee that wasn't bone-on-bone? I haven't. World of statistics. The USA population grew 0.1% in 2021, slowest rate since the founding of the nation. Oh, I was sorry. I thought that was 100. That's 250 years. Wow. So you still want to talk to me about there's no such thing as depopulation? Okay. There's not a scarcity of resources in the world. There's a scarcity of consciousness. Notice I never say the word planet. It says it right in the name, planet, plane. I say world. Planet means plane. So there is not a scarcity of resources. If they can get you to think that God did not create enough, you will always be fearful of running out. So this whole sustainability thing is garbage. Nothing to see here. Just the King of England with Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum 40 years ago. I'm sure they were discussing positive things that will benefit humanity, like you'll own nothing and be happy. So when people are all like, oh, the Queen's dead, I can't believe it. Oh, God save the King. You're not on my side. Let's go. Grasp this. They create a fantasy and put it on the news. You then go out and live according to the fantasy, thereby making it real. This is their black magic, and it doesn't work without you. People got into this thing, and they're still in it. I still see people driving around by themselves wearing a diaper on their face. 2.5 years ago. And remember, when this whole thing dropped, I told you guys, it's documented. I went on record and said this will never end. People will wear diapers forever. They're going to get shot up. People are going to die. They're going to make this vaccine. It's going to be garbage. It's going to be trackable, traceable. How did I know? Because I read their books. Nobody else reads. I read their book. They tell you what they're going to do ahead of time. Barack Obama told you what he was going to do. Nobody read his book. I don't blame him. Next. Still think this, I mean, he's on record saying this. The dude is on record in video. Depopulation should be the highest priority of foreign policy towards the third world. Well, guess what? You're the third world. He's like 96 years old. How? He eats babies. That's how. He eats babies. Where's all the blood go? We discussed it. We discussed it. That's how evil this is. And people are still asleep to it. So when I ask people, hey, Klaus Schwab, you all know Harari, yada, yada, yada. You know what's going on with this and that? I talked to somebody today. Who is it? Not in here, or is she? Somebody today. Somebody was talking today about going on a cruise. I said, are you out of your flippin' mind? Do you know what's going on in the world right now? What do you mean? We're leaving for a month. You need to be stocking up on this and buying bullets and ammo. You need to be, think about it. You're on a floating barge and all they got to do is say one person on that boat got some kind of fake virus. That's all they got to do. And you're gone, you're done. That's it. You're not getting off unless they shoot you up. Are you out of your mind? People are still going on cruises. They have no idea what's going on. Absolutely no clue what's going on. I forget who it was. She's going on a cruise. Blows my mind. Next. Man of great influence. Bill Gates funded the World Health Organization $4.3 billion. He funded the Imperial College of London. The guy who created the computer models which fakely predicted and miscalculated the spread, impact, and death rate of the fake pandemic, he gave him $280 million. University of Oxford Vaccine Research and Development, $243 million. Chris Whitty, England's chief medical officer, $40 million. BBC, $53 million. The CDC gave him $155 million. He gave Microsoft, he gave Gavi, the global, notice the word, vaccine something initiative. ID 2020, bunch of money. They're just hand over fist money laundering. He gave Anthony Fauci at the NIH, you know, the 666 symbol in the logo, gave him $18 million. Then the same dude gave $870 million to Johns Hopkins to provide data, statistics, maps, and COVID resources. Oh, I said it. COVID resources. And then he gave $3 billion to Gavi, here, a global, notice they always use that word, health partnership with the goal of increasing immunizations in poor countries, because this dude loves poor countries so much that instead of doing all this crap, he could have just built houses and given them water and food, taught them how to fish, and here's how you plant food. They could run irrigation and send Weston Price people over there to show them how to farm and how to grow food. But no. We're going to save their lives, not by sanitation and water and food. We're going to vaccinate them, thereby changing their DNA into what? No longer the image of God, I'll tell you that. Next. Let's make one thing clear. The experts were never wrong. They were always lying. Big difference. Big difference. Sometimes I wonder if the people who thought I was crazy the past 2 years are starting to think I actually wasn't crazy. But then I remember they don't think at all. The comedy of my youth has become the reality of today. You know, my dogs are named after B.J. Honeycutt and Hawkeye Pierce. So I have a soft place in my heart for that show, because not only was it comedic, but it was very dramatic. And it was the comedy juxtaposed over a very crappy, unnecessary war. But it was also filmed. It was also about the Korean War, but they showed it during the Vietnam War, basically, right after the war that wasn't a war in Vietnam. And in that show, I don't know if you know much about it, there was a dude named Klinger who acted crazy by dressing like a woman so that he'd be given a Section 8, it was called, so he could be put out of the army. Now, here's the Admiral of your Navy, and here's, I forget whoever this dude is. Something. Yes. So here's a trans, I don't know, which used to be a girl. No, used to be a dude. Now it's a girl, which is impossible. And this dude, I don't know what he is. That's a dude. They're both dudes. They're both dudes. They're both dudes. Okay? So people have no idea. People have no idea. Next. Unbelievable. Okay, so here is, I want to show you this. You'll probably never see this on your own unless you just, I don't know where it's available, I guess. I don't know if it's available anywhere, but this is a film called Unplanned. Has anyone heard of this? Yeah. Okay. Abby Johnson used to work for and run a Planned Parenthood. And she woke up and she figured it out. And she realized what was going on. The opening scene of that movie will rattle you, will rattle your very foundation, because you'll go, oh my God, that's what happens in those rooms. I personally knew somebody in college who ran 7 Planned Parenthoods. 7. She got saved, though. She got saved. Anyway, so Unplanned by Abby Johnson, she basically figured it out and then started a crusade in her she was a Christian who didn't know what she was doing, but then she figured it out. I won't give away the whole story, but anyway, there's a scene between her and her boss, and this is where it clicks. I want you to see this. And this is, sorry about the quality, we recorded this off of a phone because we couldn't find it anywhere on the internet.
Our stated goal is to decrease the number of abortions by reducing the number of unwanted pregnancies. Then why are we being asked to double our abortion count?
Why don't we turn to page 4? Thank you. Abby. Frankly, I am shocked at the way you sabotaged me in there. Is this how you thank me? For all that I have done for you?
Sure, I wasn't
No,
trying-
Abby, let me explain something to you. Fast food outlets look to break even on the hamburgers they sell. That's all they do, is break even. Do you know how they make their money?
No.
On the French fries and the soda, the low-cost, high-margin items.
Cheryl, I'm sorry, but I don't understand.
Abortion is our fries and soda. But somehow you've just decided that it's no longer your priority. Abortion is what pays your salary. It pays for your matching 401k, your 4 weeks vacation, your ample sick time. Abortion is what pays for all of it, for you and your family. Now, I didn't say anything when you decided to get married, and I said very little when you chose to become a mother, although I knew it would impact your work. But as clinic director, we are paying you to be a perfect instrument of corporate policy, and corporate policy is simple. We are an abortion provider.
But we're a nonprofit organization.
Nonprofit is a tax status, not a business model.
Now you know why they call them nonprofits. Because people think, it's a good, they're not in it for the money. It's a tax status.
A lot of churches are probably receiving.
There's a lot of, and what did the 501c3 churches do when everything hit? So 501c3s, yep. And there are some churches that I know of that held up their 501c3s right after that whole thing and tore them up. Because churches are already tax exempt.
Yeah, exactly.
FYI.
That's right.
You don't need a 501c3 to be tax exempt if you're a church. Oh no. They trick people. Oh, and by the way, your income tax, payment is voluntary compliance. Yeah, I won't go there yet. It's voluntary. I won't go there yet. We'll talk about that maybe next year. Things you don't hear, though. I got the shot, and I feel so much better. Has anyone ever heard anybody say that? Has anyone ever heard, I should have taken the shot sooner? I wish I would have taken more boosters. Nope. I didn't take the shot, but I wish I had. I can't wait for more shots. You never hear this. You never hear this. Oh, yeah, I should have, yeah. Okay, so here's a real quick thought experiment. I want to leave you guys with this. I'll run through it. They're not countries. They're people or organizations that actually exhibit greater power than countries. For example, there's Twitter, there's Google, there's Facebook. They all banned the President of the United States overnight. So if we follow this thought experiment, the Antichrist will be a political leader and then the false prophet will be a spiritual leader. So what happens? Check this out. What if the 10 kings of Revelation aren't countries? It doesn't say they're countries. I thought this is very interesting. It does not say their countries. What if Amazon and Jeff Bezos and Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, we already talked about Billy Boy here. The guy who wears pink sweaters and talks like Kermit the Frog? Yeah, that guy? Yeah. So Bill Gates, he does the GMO things. He does the vaccines. He owns more vaccine and virus patents than anyone. He runs Microsoft, who is also behind MSNBC. I talked to somebody the other day and they didn't know that. Microsoft, MSNBC is Bill Gates' NBC. Probably. Microsoft is the world's largest software company. It's a major contributor to abortions, eugenics, and sterilization, as we talked about. Just look at the old name of his company, the Bill and Melinda Gates Population Control Center, right? Owns more farmland than anyone in the world. So he could definitely be one of the 10 next. Because people think it's, Iran and Syria and, Lebanon and all this stuff. Number 4, what about Jack Dorsey of Twitter? He shuts off a lot of people, although he stepped down a little while ago, right? Lockheed Martin, owned by Vanguard Group, which is owned by the Rothschilds, military-industrial complex. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. But here's where it gets interesting. The top 10 banks of the world. Out of the top 10 banks in the world, 4 of them are Chinese. So you got the Industrial Commercial Bank of China, that's in China. China Construction Bank Corp, China. Agricultural Bank of China, China. Bank of China, China. So top 4 banks in the world. What about BlackRock? What about Vanguard? Who are they getting? Where's the money coming from? You've heard about these guys, right? How about the number, what was the other one? Mitsubishi UFJ Financials, that's in Japan. So there's a Japanese bank. Next. Then you've got a UK one, the Hong Kong something British Chinese something. I can't remember what HSBC stands for, but it's a UK bank. JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America are US. By the way, get your money out of the banks. I've been saying it for 2.5 years. Well, if you want to know what's going to happen with it, we'll talk about it when the camera shuts off. And then the 2 other banks out of the 10, the last 2 out of the 10 are French banks. So out of the top 10 banks of the world, if you had BlackRock or Vanguard in charge of somewhere, they fit in somewhere. 10 Kings of Revelation, they're bigger than countries. It never says they're countries. So you got the Vatican, you got the United Nations, you got number 9, you got number 10. Number 9, number 10, well, you got Apple dude down here, leading producer of computer hardware systems in the world. Somebody's got to design all the stuff to watch all the people and do all the facial recognition. Then the food industry, you got to feed people. You got Nestle, you got Pepsi, you got Anheuser-Busch, you got Tyson, you got Bill Gates. Nestle, largest water producer. Also, most of their crap has aborted fetuses in it, just FYI. Pepsi, same deal. Coke, same deal. Anheuser-Busch, man, you got to do wheat, you got to do barley, you got to do grain. It takes a lot of food to make beer. And if we're going to keep people watching the bread and the circuses, you got to feed them with beer. So we got to keep the bars open, but shut the churches down. Tyson's the biggest supplier of meat to Walmart. So it's going to be fake at some point. They're just going to start mixing in cricket with it, and you're not going to know it because they don't have to put it on the label. Bill Gates, biggest farmer in America. So what if, hypothetically, we're living in Revelation right now. So hypothetically, what if the 10 kings had nothing to do with countries? Interesting thought experiment. Okay, so what do we do? How do we get around it? Well, by doing the same things believers have always done. Ammo, guns, swords, baseball bat. Wait. No, that's not on here. Okay, so by doing increased knowledge, learn the vocabulary, the nature and the intent of the people and the organizations involved. Most people don't. That's why I put these things together. I look into this stuff. I know most people don't have the time to. We increase our wisdom. Oh, but you should say disengage from fruitless, nonsense, garbage, crappy activities. Right, college girl? Right. So learn the vocabulary, the nature, the intent of the people and organizations. And you can't do that if you're playing on Facebook or Candy Crush all day long, right? Increase wisdom. Learn what God's word has to say. Neither he nor his word have been caught off guard by 2020 or man's attempt at dethroning any of his authority. He has not been surprised by any of this. As a matter of fact, he wrote about it 2,000 years ago. It's brilliant. But the bad guys are reading it too. And remember, they think they're descended from Jesus himself. So just remember that. But know, point 2 here, know that there really is nothing new under the sun. Know that. Solomon said that. Number 3, increase your awareness. Man, you gotta learn how to spot deceptions, counterfeits, the fruits of this new age. You got to know appropriate steps to strip them of their power. And I would say, number 4, you have to find like-minded people. Like, we are working diligently to narrow our focus because we don't want every single person coming off the street walking in here. I don't want you guys exposed to every single person coming in off the street. So we narrow our focus to very specific groups, peoples, things, because we're not going to let just anybody walk in. And you shouldn't. Keep your circles tight, secure, and small as you go on. But right here, no appropriate steps to strip them of their power. Victory can be yours when and if you decide and understand and use highly effective tools to combat these forces. I would close with this. It is a mistake to be ignorant or arrogant regarding these topics. Fear did not get you where you are, and it will not take you where he needs you in the future. So you have to be faithful and be fearless going forward. And that's what we're doing, because we're trying to get this information out to people, because I know a lot of people don't have time to figure this stuff out on their own. And we did that during 2020. When everything fell apart, we started teaching not once every 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. We started teaching every week. And thankfully, I only know of one patient that got that shot out of hundreds. But I was kind of mad about that one. I was, but it's because we educated people. And that's all I'll say. But we'll talk about some other stuff here. We're going to shut the cameras down. I'll take one question before we shut the cameras off. Question. Anybody? Did anybody write down a question? Okay. Comment. We need a microphone. Yep. You have a comment. Go ahead, nurse.
I also get a newsletter from Second Opinion and discovered that a number of people, they even had to write it up in their journals, when they did the quote swab testing, they punctured through the membrane and were leaking cerebral spinal fluid through their nose from it.
Sure. Well, they're not.
It was Egyptian lobotomy.
Yep.
In the early days.
Yeah, they're not going there to get a sample of your, And well, think about it. If it's going to be in your right hand or your forehead, where are they going with that swab? Where are they going with the swab? Now, the forehead can represent your thoughts, your thought life, your prayer life, all that. But I just find it interesting that they're digging right up into very close. Am I saying it's the mark? No. But is it a precursor to the mark? You bet your bottom dollar. 100%. So those churches and denominations out there that don't open the book of Revelation, they better be reading the book of Daniel. That's the only other option they've got, right? Maybe a little Ezekiel and Jeremiah and Isaiah, but that's it. Like, if you're not reading the book of Revelation and you're not in a church that believes in heavy-duty rock and roll thunder of God and miracles, and you're left to your own devices and your own understanding, in a time like this, your discernment, you are playing with fire. So there's coming a time of the sheep and the goats, and it's happening. Like, we're in smack dab middle of it right now. So are we trying to pull people in off the street? Hell no. We're trying to get rid of some people so that we can open up some seats. We're trying to narrow it down. Who wants to be here and who doesn't? You know what I mean? You've been here 8 years. Who wants to be here and who doesn't? Because we're not chasing people down. We're not beating them over the head. Either they wake up to the fact that they're either in a system of healthcare based on Babylonian witchcraft and mysticism and alchemy and voodoo, or they realize that they've got one bad to the bone place right here in their backyard. Because, I find it interesting. We have more people driving from hour and 2 hour and 3 hour and 6 hour away than I think people who actually live here in Cleveland. It's very interesting to me. It's almost like the religious spirit of this town doesn't allow people to walk in here. It's like we preach this stuff, and I know for a fact, because I've done it for so long now, I know that we're going to vibrate and resonate with certain people, and they're going to just come from 12 hours away. But I also know that we're going to repel, and that's exactly what we mean to do. That's exactly what we mean to do. We're not here for everybody. Nobody is. Jesus wasn't. So we're not better than him. And there were some people that didn't want help. And they still exist. So that's our thing. We want to help everybody, but we just know the limitations of things. We're trying to narrow the focus. We're trying to say, how can we help the people who really want help and who really want to be here? So we don't take crap. Right, Gordon? We don't take crap. Okay, we're going to shut off, and then we'll discuss some things if you have some questions. 2 weeks, what is it? You don't have an autoimmune disease? Oh yeah, in 2 weeks, you know how we do the classes like you don't have a chemical imbalance? And you know how we do the classes you don't have allergies? Well, guess what? 2 weeks, we're doing a class, you don't have an autoimmune disease. Guess what? If all this crap is fake in the media, guess what is happening in healthcare? Guess what's happening in hospitals? And if you don't know what we're talking about, you will never see this information. And the stuff on that website at the very beginning, right, Angie? The stuff on this website at the very beginning that we showed you where you go patient information and you go down to the videos, I promise you, you will look the world over and you will never find this information anywhere else, I promise you. Because it's gathered from so many places, the stuff we talk about. So the chemical imbalance class is a few months ago. The allergies class was a couple months ago too. The autoimmune class, so what do I mean by that? That's diabetes, that's Sjogren's syndrome. Thank you, lupus, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, eczema, all of the autoimmune, and they're coming up with new ones every day. Bring your people, bring your friends, bring your families, cats, dogs, enemies, bring them all. Bring your friends, your Romans, your countrymen, bring them all. The autoimmune thing, because there's coming a time very soon when I'm going to focus on other things. We're not going to do these classes as often. It's coming up shortly, probably within the next 3 months. We're going to be moving everything to like podcasts and things like that. But we've got this class for Q3, and then we're going to Q4 classes. I don't know how many there's going to be. It's just a lot of work putting them all together. All right. Okay, so we're signing off. See you in 2 weeks. You do not have an autoimmune disease. We'll talk to you soon. Dr. Brett Spradlin, Divine Design Natural Health.